Hello, everyone, and welcome to Surviving the Apocalypse. Hosted by TheHighGuy and that Panda Guy, this podcast dives deep into all things related to Doomsday Last Survivors, a mobile strategy base building game brought to us by the developers at IGG. Like, comment, subscribe, and tune in every other Friday for an in-depth look at the evolution of Doomsday, and join us in Surviving the Apocalypse. Let's get into it.
What is up, guys? Hope you're all doing well.
You ready to co-host this with me? Oh boy.
Hell yeah, well, let's get into it, brother.
I'm excited. So we decided to put this podcast together because at the end of the day, a lot of this game is about the community itself. And what we've noticed is that this type of conversation allows for the community to kind of get together and come to terms with each other and actually, develop more conversation because of it. So I wanted to start off here just to talk to you a little bit because you've had a little bit of hands-on experience with the community. You went to Worlds.
Yes, sir.
Jesus.
It was a blast for sure. So, it's kind of crazy. What were you about to say?
I was just going to say, why don't you just tell me a little bit about that? What was that like?
I'd say like the experience with the people was honestly the best part. I did like the whole streaming aspect. Honestly, it was like super exciting. But honestly, the best part was just meeting people. Honestly, I mean, obviously, my experience is different than the players because they're actually playing, and I know they had their own complaints. I actually had reached out to as well to the to the team because they actually had asked everybody, I guess, like what would kind of be better next time around. Like I've probably mentioned this on my own videos, but dude, they need or like sound like canceling headphones or whatever, because one of the worst parts was I expect them to have like kind of my voice going through the venue right when I'm in the stream.
Sure.
But the players could hear me, so I literally after the first round had to start limiting myself on what I would actually talk about, like if there were people in the back lines and stuff, and I had to kind of because they told me like, yo, you gotta watch your stuff, and there's people in the venue, right? So like obviously you're trying to make it interesting for them as well, so it's like, why am I having to limit how am I supposed to talk, you know what I mean, on the actual stream because they didn't like prepare that properly. It was just so stupid to me. So like I would try to like hint at the other guy because he had control of, like how the screen was looking, where it would look, and he was like mainly only focused on the big fights. But there would be people in the back line taking, let's say, an operation base or taking the small little outpost, and I try to like, even if it's just for a minute, to like glance over and be like, oh,
Sure.
These guys are doing this. It would have been interesting and kind of added more. So like you literally had to carry the whole thing off pure energy. So it was
and you can't even say about what's happening because like you're leading into
like
strategy.
Like for example, I would talk about zombies or something like, oh, these people are preparing for zombies. That would screw over the other team because then people would be like, oh, these guys are heading for zombies. Or I'd be like, oh, this person's in the back line taking out operation bases, and the people would be like, oh shoot, we got to go defend the operation base. So I was like, what?
So all of a sudden your commentary is influencing the entire fight.
Yeah, so I had to change up after the first round. I felt a little bit bad, but at the same time, I'm like, dude, they should have prepared that properly.
No doubt, that's not your fault. That's the IGG developers' fault.
Yeah, I'm supposed to make this as interesting as possible. Why are you doing this to me?
That's right. You're brought there to make it good. Commentate. Yeah. Jesus. I guess that's one thing you don't really think about though. Is kind of the logistics of how you put on one of those massive world championships, eh?
Yeah, I mean, it was kind of interesting too, because when you think about it, I don't know if people like how much time they thought we had to prepare, but I literally only went. We had like maybe 2 days because I know I missed. I don't know if you know this, but I had basically missed one of my flights because I had a delayed flight, and I literally had ran to like the international flight. It was the 1-day flight. We had ran there with like 5 other people. It was just random people because like our flight was delayed on the first one, and we missed it, and they even left early. So I literally had to wait for for a full day to hit the next flight. So I actually made it a day late. So we only had like like maybe 2 days or something to actually go over the stuff that we talk about. And honestly, we didn't even talk, like the only things that we really talked about was the intermissions, I guess, in between the streams where we kind of would maybe do the giveaways. I don't know about the giveaways.
Yeah.
But everything I did was kind of like off the top. So
well,
I was working with what I could with what I got.
Pat yourselves on the back. I think you did a pretty damn good job if all that shit just came off the rip.
Yeah, I mean, like I think I was trying to keep it energetic too. I think I had lower energy at the start, and somebody actually mentioned it. So I tried to carry like high energy throughout the rest of the stream to make sure like it stayed as like entertaining and hype as possible.
And when you got invited to that, you told me that was kind of an accident.
Yeah, so I guess they on the creator page where you fill out stuff, I was trying to fill out like what I normally would, and they didn't have like anything to like link videos,
Sure.
but they had like the normal stuff where you put, your Discord or something in, and I filled it out and I was like, what the hell did I just fill out? This isn't my normal form, but I was like, whatever, right? And I basically just kept it moving, and like maybe a few weeks later they reached out, and it was kind of funny because I was like hustling to get my freaking my passport because I didn't have one. I've never
Yeah.
flown. I've never traveled, abroad or anything. So I was rushing for it. And I was worried that it might arrive late because I only had like I don't know maybe 2-3 months or something to prepare.
Oh, geez.
So I got it just in time, thankfully, and that was lit.
Yeah,
It was nice
passports
though. It was nice.
passports are a pain in the butt to get. They're not
No
easy.
joke.
I live in
I looked like a freaking rugrat when I took my picture.
I live in Canada. They're not easy to get here either, dude. Just don't get me wrong. But it's totally different side note. The Canadian government is working. They just piloted a program that will allow Canadians to apply for their passport and get it from home. I don't have to
That's
go.
interesting.
Yeah, I don't have to go nowhere to fucking sign up and get my passport.
What
I can
about
get
the
it sent to home.
passport picture? Because I know they take the picture. I got mine taken.
Yeah,
Do you like take that at home?
I don't know whether I can just get it taken and like scan them in and get them sent in or whatever. I'm not sure exactly how the program. It just came through and it's just getting expanded now. They said that by I think summer of this year, every Canadian will have access to being able to get their passport from home. And I went, I'm happy for that. I might need it earlier if I want to go to Worlds this year, but that's a different conversation for another time.
Yeah, that's a bit interesting. I mean, I think they last for what, 10 years? I think that's what I heard. Like when you get one, it'll go for the next 10. So I'm fine with mine at least for now. So
Man,
I'm
last
like,
time
hey,
I
don't
got
care.
one, I was 15 or 16, I think, so I couldn't tell you. And
Damn, boy.
as you can tell from what I have left on here, it's been a while since I've been.
I just got
needed my
I got a fur
passport.
ball right now. I've been waiting to get a haircut. Like even my mustache is like overgrown right now. So
You can't trim your own mustache? Come on, boy.
well, I can, but I prefer not to because at the end of the day, if I do that, I might end up with no mustache. You know what I mean?
Don't worry, I've been
I
there.
I rather go to the let the professionals handle that.
Dude, you have no case. This one time, I was working at the airport. I was doing airport security, and same situation. I was styling my beard real nice. Did the one side was perfect. Did the other side came down just a little too far. So all of a sudden it was like this. Like this came up to here, and then this came down to here, and I was like, "Fuck it." So I trade this one a little bit more, and then it was down to here, and I'm like, "No." At that point, there's no fixing it.
I'm getting hair on my chin, and I think I might be growing like a goatee. I gotta like figure out what I want to cut. I'm gonna keep my mustache. I don't know about the other two because I got like.
Oh
my
yeah,
chin
you're
right here
you're a
somewhere.
young buck. How old are you now? Like
I'm 20. I'm 20.
Jesus.
Yes, sir.
I'm 38. Do you have any idea how crazy that is? You're 20.
It's kind of crazy when you think about it because I think I like flew. I was like 19 and I'm at a world championship thing. It's just kind of cool to think about. I was like, damn.
Traveling the world at
I
19?
mean, like, yeah,
Fucking lucky,
yeah, and
man.
and I
Good
think
job.
they said they pushed. I think they said they were pushing it back. Like I don't know how long, but maybe a few days or so. But when the championship was originally supposed to be held, my birthday would actually be a few days later. I'm like, how am I supposed to get any drinks, dude? Like,
Because
I
you got to
mean,
be
I could slip
21.
some, but- yeah, I mean, I don't know about in Thailand, but I
No,
definitely
yeah,
was
not
supposed
in
to
Thailand. Thailand is like, I
Hey,
think
man.
16. I don't even know.
chug them down.
Knock her
Chug 'em
back.
down. I mean, a lot of people drink even if they ain't 21, but you can't say that. So
Man, I stopped drinking probably 10 years ago.
I only drink on occasion. I've drunk at on a cruise.
Yeah.
Like that was my first time. I was like 17. And
Yeah.
then at my sister's wedding, I was 18, and I freaking
International waters.
I passed out. I had like my head in a trash can. I could probably actually find you the picture. Have I ever sent it to you? I know. I think I sent it to Z. I don't know if I ever sent it to you or anything though. If someone took a picture of me, like head in the trash can and everything, I'm like, damn, y'all really did me like that.
Yeah, they
Did me
hooked you up
dirty.
like that for sure. 20.
Yeah.
But I guess I mean at 17 when you're drinking on the cruise, you got to do what you got to do.
Yeah, I tried a bit of everything. Wine. I don't know about beer or anything, but I don't know. I definitely looked a little older. I usually look a little older than my age. So I kind of passed for it, I think. I could
See,
find this picture. I want to show it to you.
see, I have this rare effect where once I clear up my head again, like shave my head, if I do shave my beard, I lose about 20 years, so I look 18. Um, but the rest of
Dude,
me
it's the
doesn't
same.
feel 18. It's one of
It's the
those
same
things.
with me. I refuse to lose my mustache because I got the baby face. If I do that, if I lose my facial hair, I got baby face
Yeah,
after
but
that. So it's like,
hold on. You're still a baby. Like it's not even just
well,
baby
yeah,
face.
but
You know what I
well,
mean?
yeah, but that's the point. I'm not trying to look like a baby. I'm trying to look like I got some hair on my balls.
I gotta make it look like my chest has some curlies. You know what I mean?
Exactly.
Yeah, that's right. No, I feel you, but at least when you're 30 or something like that, when you're 40 and you're still looking 20, there'll be a different feeling for you. I think.
Oh yeah, I got the picture for you.
Oh
I
shit.
could probably let me see if I can show it up to my camera maybe, but I'll send it to you on Discord too. Unless you want to just show it. I don't know. But they were freaking surrounding me, holding my. Can you see that in the camera? I don't know if that's showing. They were like holding my head up though.
Yeah.
Yeah, and then I got back and I had that was the worst buzz I've ever had. That's the only buzz I've ever had. I was freaking driving home and I was like, God,
You were driving
migraine.
home?
No, it was after. It was like the next day. It was the next day. But it was
Okay.
like it's like a
Oh.
hangover, not buzz. Sorry, but yeah, I had a
Oh.
hangover
I thought you
because I had vomited the night before.
I thought you were like, yeah, I
Yeah.
got so drunk and I drove home. What a like jeez, I was like, that hardcore at 18. Jesus.
Yeah, it was my sister's wedding, so I crashed out. They kept bringing me drinks, so I just kept gulping them. I was like, I gotta go. I
You
gotta
got
go,
it.
go, go.
You got it while the opportunity is there. Listen,
Yeah, because
when
I
your
don't drink
liver
often.
can handle it, that's when you do it. At 28, when I got drunk and took 3 days to recover, I was like, no, thank you. There's
Never again.
there's no more drinking to that extent. I'll have a beer here or there. I'll drink a couple of them, right? I'll
How
get
bad did you drink to be recovering for 30 days, bro?
Oh, bro. Okay, I remember so many times. Let's see. This one night we had a party at my buddy's place. We were living in an acreage, literally in the middle of nowhere, and it was a 3 bedroom acreage that we were living in. And well, I wasn't living there at the time, but we were all kind of like they were staying there. We had a party that was there, just supposed to be 10 or 15 people within our group. But then the word of the party went to like 4 different towns that were in close proximity.
Oh
And
no.
so we literally ended up in this small fucking 3 bedroom place with 200, 300 people in the house and
God
on the
damn.
property. And of course, the town cops couldn't do anything because they only have 2 cops against 500 people or 400 people. So we basically just told them, you guys go sit on one side of the highway, and you guys go sit at the other end of the highway. Let us handle our own shit here, but you nag all the drunk drivers you want because we can't stop that, right?
Bro. Oh, y'all sold them out. You're like, go handle them.
Well, it's
I
not
mean,
like
it's a good thing though, because like you're not supposed to be drink driving, but
well,
yeah.
that's the thing is like it's not like we're sitting there saying, okay, get every single drunk driver that you can't like. That guy's drunk, go get him. But it's like you guys sit there and do what you need to do because there's 500 drinking people here. So
Yeah,
chances
I mean,
are,
it's on you. It's on you if you're drunk driving. So it's like, hey,
well,
enjoy
exactly.
your time in the pound.
But it
That's on
was,
you, buddy.
but we had 400 people, and in that night, I managed to polish off 66 ounces of tequila.
Mm.
So when you do that to your liver, there's enough time. There's enough
Yeah,
time to
you were.
recuperate for a couple of days.
Yeah, that was like that was a death wish right there. I'm not gonna lie.
And don't get me wrong, it wasn't even good tequila. It was like Jose Cuervo Gold or something. It was not even.
I definitely I don't like the taste of drinks. I know some people do. I don't. I just kind of like once I start doing it, I'm just like I was just down in them. I literally just was gulping them down every single drink they handed to me. It just became like a habitual. And then when I think about drinks now, ever since I vomited, it just makes my stomach a little queasy. I'm like,
Just
oh,
turns the edge just a
uh,
little bit.
yeah.
Yeah, I feel you.
I cannot drink. I can't drink beer. That tastes horrible to me. I don't know how people do it.
So if you go back to Worlds this year, are you gonna get a little loopy?
I definitely will. I even like was talking to this guy Breaker. I don't know if you know him, TPL.
I know
He's like he
I
was
know the
like
alliance.
yo,
Yeah.
he was like yeah, he was like, oh, if you pull up at World's Cup, I'm getting you drunk, bro. I'm
Oh
like,
no.
hi. Like, hey, we're gonna drink, bro. We're gonna drink. They
Well,
can't ID me there.
that's true. And not only that, but I talked to Hans because Hans is going too. And
Oh yeah, I
Han,
know they. Do you know who's on H&B team at all? I don't.
uh,
Maybe not talk about here, but I freaking know ROK, H&B, SSI, and then there's a random team who had like I don't know who it is because they have a different tag. It's probably DHX or something though. I'm
yeah,
guessing.
I'm not sure, but I know that I didn't look at the total details of who's all going for with HMB and Hans and stuff like that, but I know that Hans is going number one, and he said that because I do the podcast, Who TF Are You, and I've been trying to get his ass on that podcast for a while too. He said he would only give me one in person if I go meet him at World. So now I have a fundamental drive to get my ass to Worlds too.
He's trying to convince you to pull up. He's trying to get you drunk too, bro. He wants to kill your liver.
Yeah, my liver's dead enough already. I smoke enough on the other side to be able to prevent any of the damage. So I'm okay. Hey, wait a second.
It cancels out.
Cannabis is legal in Thailand too.
Is it? I don't even know how that works.
Yeah,
there.
I think so. I think it's decriminalized. I could be totally wrong, and we'll get roasted in the comments one way or the other. But I think I was looking at it, and I think it's like it might not be legalized, but it might be like decriminalized or whatever.
Yeah, I definitely look into it though, because if you're gonna do it, you got to know, because you do not want to get arrested in another country.
That's true. That's true. And I'm definitely not bringing it with me. That's not happening. I'm not bringing it with me.
You pick it up while you're there.
Yeah, and make sure it's all gone by the time you're gone too. You know what I mean?
You don't want to get on that plane. They're gonna be like,
having to stop in the States first. I would not even want to like. Dealing with the legal system in Thailand versus dealing in the legal system in the United States versus dealing in the legal system in Canada. It all sucks. You know what I mean? Like I don't want to deal with any of it. So like that's
you definitely don't want to deal with it in Thailand, because if you get arrested there, you're gonna be like, can you guys book my flight back? No, you're on your own, buddy. You're on your own.
Get
IGG. You're walking your way home.
IGG. Hey, I need your lawyers.
You're swimming your way home. The worst part about those championships isn't even the championships and stuff itself. It's the flight over, especially with like, I swear, I like.
How long was the flight?
I just feel like I got long legs, but I think one of the flights was, I can't remember off my head, but I know it was like a day. Like between all the flights, it was a day, right? So maybe one flight was maybe like, let's say 3 hours. I know the first flight was only like an hour. The second flight was maybe 16, I think. And then the last flight was maybe like 6 or 8 or something like that, right? But they were super long. That second flight almost killed me. And the worst part, like besides the legs, my freaking leg room was killing me, because these guys want to freaking scoot their chairs back. And I'm like, I'm not like super tall, but I'm still like 6 foot something, right? So that was killing my legs.
Hey, man, 6 foot is more than the average man in now's height.
Dude, I stood next to that world's strongest guy or whatever, took a picture at the airport. Dude, I was up to like his shoulder, and his body was like 3 times, or maybe 4. He's like, I don't know, 400 pounds.
Those guys are big. They're big boys.
The food on the flights, I'm not joking. I feel like I got sick from that. And I don't know if it's just like me in general, because I don't like, I'm not good at air travel or whatever the case, but it literally, I couldn't eat anymore, and the food's making me smell nauseous.
Yeah.
Next time I'm bringing a mask, bro. I'm not joking. The smell started making me nauseous, especially because I already had eaten it on the last flight, so it was killing me. And I don't know.
Jeez. Yeah, but here's the thing. I haven't been on a plane. Like I said, I used to work at the airport, but I haven't been on a plane in, oh my God, such a long time. Since I went to Europe when I was 17 or 18, I think is the last time I was on a plane. Yep, yeah, that's about right. But hey, you know what? I would totally do it over if I meant that I could go get my ass to Thailand. I think that's going to be a goal that I'm going to shoot for. And it'll be a nice conversation to tell the wife. Because, I mean, truth be told, bringing her with me would be the bomb. I think that would be the best.
It's worth the suffer in the leg room. It's worth it.
It's
worth it. It's worth it once you meet everybody and stuff. Also, can you give me 1 second? I gotta open the front door.
Oh, of course.
Yeah. Playing with your dog over there?
Oh, you're my puppy. You got a puppy.
Playing with your puppy?
Yeah, I saw your puppy.
You notice? Oh, come here.
I saw your puppy. I had to show you my puppy.
Yes, sir. Check him out. Check out the little baby.
I love his colors.
Yeah, he's got. You said what?
Is he a bulldog?
He's like half pit.
Oh, nice.
I don't know what his other half is because I forgot, but yeah, he's like half pit.
He's a pretty
He's
handsome
a
boy.
he's a he's a good boy. I leave the window open so he can go bark at our neighbor every day because he's a freaking little rug rat.
His name is Otis.
Yeah, Otis.
Oh Jesus! Right
What
off
about
to
your
the
dog? Hey
Zeus.
man,
His name is Zeus.
I mean, gotta name our dogs by the name of gods.
Yeah. Well, we got him off a guy who's named him King, and so I kind of just went with the same ideology. And I was like, I like that like regal idea because he's a herding dog, right? So he's like the king of the house.
Oh, it's a herding dog?
Yeah,
What did he herd?
we raise goats.
Mm,
We've got like
that's actually pretty cool.
30 goats or something out here.
God damn, you live in like a farm area, or
Yeah, I live in an acreage just outside a small town.
how's the internet? I know like internet on like
Starlink.
those. Oh yeah, I think you've told me before.
Yep.
I remember even like when I was like what's it called on bus like to and from like school and stuff. Every time I went to like through farm areas on my data and stuff, it would just be like blink, and I would be playing like games because even like in what's it called high school, I was playing like this game called Hellfire. It would just freaking drop on me, and I'm like, God damn it, I can't imagine living there.
Dude, here's the thing, and especially now, it makes it so much worse. Okay, regardless of what you think politically. Okay, I don't give a shit about your political views. Elon Musk as a person, not very good. And I don't like supporting him with my money, but I don't have a choice.
By the way, it's actually funny. I actually was talking to somebody about this because I think I watched a video, and I don't even care about the politics, to be honest. But I found it kind of interesting where people like, you know how like Teslas are getting vandalized and all this kind of stuff, right? People are like, I guess, doing it to like hurt Elon or whatever the case. But I actually I hadn't looked into it, but I saw this video and it's kind of funny because I don't know if you know this, but he has like SpaceX, right? And he has, Tesla. And although Tesla earns way more, his share is so much lower or so much smaller in Tesla that he's making significantly more in, I guess, SpaceX. And I suppose apparently he was trying to get like a bigger share in Tesla. And from like, this is like a speculation, but I guess like he wants them to buy him out since they refuse to give him like a more like a voting power and stuff at the table. He's trying to basically force their hand, but it's like you lose either way because they vote him. Maybe they buy him out and they get rid of Elon and they get rid of bad press. But at the same time, a lot of the stocks, etc., that's in Tesla is because people were, I guess so in love with Elon, like him, his promises, whatever the case, and like what he like constantly kind of push. I mean, a lot of that's like built off hype. That's kind of like a lot of the things in the world, honestly.
Well, a lot of it is also based on the fact that a lot of his value is based in Tesla stock. So he gets money and gets loans and stuff based on the value of what his shares in Tesla is, not because he's liquid by any stretch, right? So it's not that he's got billions of dollars, it's that he's got billions of dollars worth of stock. Now, it's interesting that you say that he doesn't have a lot tied up in Tesla, because I honestly thought it was most of his stuff.
He does, but he earns more on like SpaceX. So like I forget what the numbers were, but like for example, if he has like 12% on Tesla, he might have, let's say, 30% in SpaceX, and he's earning more off SpaceX because his shares are just so much higher. So even if the income is lower on SpaceX overall, he's still earning more off of it just because his shares are so much higher. He has, and he probably has more voting power, whatever the case. You know what I mean? So it gives him much more flexibility. And like, I guess he doesn't want to have to be tied down to Tesla if he did, maybe like I said, like it's a speculation, but he might be just trying to get bought out because he doesn't, he doesn't want to kind of be tied down if he's not allowed more voting power or more shares.
That's an interesting take on it. I think, especially now with as many news outlets as there are out there that have differencing stories on it. So there's that perspective on it. There's the perspective, that he's doing it for his own gains. I mean, the amount of stuff that he's cutting from the government right now, he's making up for in other government grants that he's getting, right? Like he's just got a bunch of new government grants for cars and a bunch of new government grants for internet and a bunch of new government grants regarding SpaceX and things like that. So there's like regarding NASA, there's a whole bunch that just went up there as well. I think a new government grant in regards to bringing down the ISS, which I thought was kind of interesting. They want to destroy the International Space Station.
Oh no!
It's just, I mean, look, that's a whole different conversation for another time. But it's one of those things where I look at him like, again, regardless of how you look at it, I don't want to give him my money, but I live out in the middle of buttfuck nowhere. And the literal only option that I have, okay, I've got two options. I've got Starlink, or I've got, internet that works off the same shit as my phone. So the best that I would get is like 5G or whatever.
It's funny though, you mentioned not wanting to give him money, right? But like it's weird, like the people that destroy their own Teslas or whatever the case, right? I was thinking about it, and it's so weird because someone actually mentioned it perfectly. It's like I get not wanting to maybe buy more Teslas if you really don't support the guy, but why destroy your own car? It's like I maybe bought sneakers from these people I don't support anymore, but I already have the sneakers. Why would I not wear them? Like I'm gonna wear what I got. Like you know what I mean? And like
Oh, sure.
I also don't like people like completely destroying people's like Teslas and stuff. Even if you don't support the guy, you're
Oh, for
literally
sure.
potentially screwing somebody from being able to get their child to school
Yep.
or being able to work. And like I don't even know, like it's even more stupid because obviously I'm sure there's a ton of people who are on his political side or whatever, but there's probably plenty of people who have the Teslas and stuff who aren't even like politically supporting him, and you're probably screwing them. And like it's just like ironic that you might be
Yep.
like actually hurting somebody who supports your cause or
And
whatever.
and don't get me twisted. I'm not condoning damage to Teslas
No,
by
no, no,
any
I
stretch.
know.
I
I'm
look at
just
it and
saying.
yeah, and I look at them the same way. Like I mean, I also look at it. There's no sense in destroying the ones that have already been purchased because he already got the money. Do you know what I mean? Like you can't. It's not like they're giving him
Yeah.
more at that point. If anything, go after the source. No, don't go after the source. That's not me condoning attacks. Don't do that.
I mean, yeah,
It's
yeah,
not.
yeah. I get what you're saying though, because thing is like I do understand like the what's it called? It might be impacting their actual purchases because people are less willing because they're like, oh, I don't want this done to my car. I mean, I even think that there was like a Tesla dealership or something that got shot
Yep.
up. You know what
Yeah.
I mean? Like
Started on fire in
it's
France.
crazy. It's crazy. It's
Yep.
crazy. I don't. That's just insane, man. People are going to like the extremes, and I'm like, bro, like you're
But
you're destroying people's livelihoods and
yeah, but in
all
the
this type
same
of
breath,
stuff.
China is over here re-supporting the electrical vehicle market by flooding
Well,
with affordable Chinese vehicles, which I think is a totally
I'll say
different
this though. I actually
situation.
saw something on that, and it was like, what's it called? When they had released those, Tesla even tried to, because apparently, they I guess released their self-driving feature for free there.
Yeah,
Like it wasn't something that you had to pay to implement into your already existing cars or whatever the case.
sure.
But they tried to release theirs like Teslas, right? And apparently Teslas were like getting tons of traffic violations and stuff because basically they have their the autopilot and stuff. They're set up for like traffic laws that exist in maybe the United States or whatever the case, but China's completely different. They have
Hmm.
different kind of like stuff that's built into the road or whatever, the streets, like how you have to drive, whatever the case. And basically they were getting tons of tickets because the cars were like jerking into lanes they weren't supposed to be, like bike lanes, etc. And
So
I
they
I
were
just saw
set
this
to
by chance. It was
American
like a random
rules.
video. Yeah, yeah. So basically, the self-driving thing, because he was trying to, I guess, compete with the company because they didn't want it. Like, since the company just gave them out for free, he's like, okay, well, we'll implement ours for free too. And then they start, breaking a ton of traffic violations. So I was like, dude, you gotta actually make like you can't use the stuff that you're using in the United States on Chinese,
Yeah, yeah,
owned
exactly.
vehicles, right? You
Well,
got to make one separately for a different country because everything's different.
did you see Mark Rober just had a video out looking at the Teslas versus lidars?
I didn't watch it, but I just saw a video earlier today that was actually, I wouldn't say criticizing, but they were talking
Yeah,
about like all because I watched this like drama channel where it's not even a drama channel. It's this guy who makes, I don't know if you ever watched WestJet, but he just makes a ton of like content on like Twitter drama, just laughing at it.
yeah,
Basically,
yeah.
like he's super hated, but it's funny because he'll just basically talk about everything, try to make money off of any video, and like he even says he'll be like my rinse due.
That's
But he
right.
basically talked about it, right? And he was like, I guess like what ends up happening is not only is there like I guess the little mannequin, the kid on the other side of the wall, which they talked about, and it's like, why are you trying to like act like it's supposed to see the kid through the wall? They also said like he had just started the self auto driving feature or whatever right before he was kind of going into impact on the wall, and then it's like, he didn't do it on the other competitor or whatever, like so he gave
So
the competitor an advantage,
so
and
he
people were like
released
pissed off.
he released the raw footage from before on and clarified a lot. Actually, just recently I watched a
Oh,
video.
did he?
Yeah, yeah. So I just watched a video. Do you know who Philip DeFranco is?
I've heard of the name. I don't think I watched the guy though. What
That's
happened?
fine. He does the Philip DeFranco show. He's a news kind of, uh, not necessarily progressive news, but like an unbiased news source or quote unquote unbiased news source. Um, and he did an interview with Mark Rober and basically just kind of asked him about these kind of things. Like, what about just exactly what you're saying? What about, the fact that even in the video, it looks like the auto drive feature turns off before it goes through? Like, did you influence that and blah, blah, blah. And so he released the actual raw footage. And in the raw footage, you can see that it was actually on well before. And the only time it turned off was like as it was puncturing through the wall already. So like all the way up, it was still accelerating all the way through, and it only turned off like right before hitting the wall. So whether
This
it's,
is why you can't. This is why you can't trust Twitter though. They'll
100%,
demonize anything. I don't
you
I
can't
don't even
trust
like
nothing.
get on Twitter. I don't get on Twitter because they'll demonize anything. I think I saw something the other day and I forget exactly what it was, but they like will make a drama. Oh yeah, it was chess.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, chess.
Wait,
And they've done
chess
this
is in the
before.
board game chess?
Yeah. They have an there's like a chess site, right? And basically they have a Twitter account,
Hold on.
and they've done this before,
Hold
right?
on. Time on,
They
time on, time on,
basically
time on,
yeah.
time on. 1 second. There's drama in the chess world?
No, it's stupid. It's really stupid. So they've done this before. They like posted the pawn, right? They posted a picture and said like, "Oh, we're gonna change the name or something," or like, "Got any name ideas?" Right? It's just like
Yeah,
a
yeah.
stupid like tiny rage bait. They did this with I think it was the bishop, right? And then people all started saying like, I don't. Some people even mentioned like, "Oh, the Jews" or something. Like people just make up anything. They like would insult Jews. They'd be like, "Oh, you're why are you all trying, this is blasphemous," or you're trying to like something about Christianity, you know what I mean? Like they're just trying to make it sound like just they were trying to be like political or something,
Sure,
or
sure.
like I'm like, bro, it's a rage bait post. It's like the most obvious rage bait ever. Like why are you like, there was a massive drama about it. Like I don't know if you know Moist Critical, he made a video on it, bro,
Have you
on the
heard
whole drama.
have you heard what percentage of interactions on social media, what percentage, sorry, just give me 1 second.
You're good.
I'm just trying to open something up here. Percentage of bots on social. So
Social media in general, or is it like Twitter and stuff?
so
I feel like there's probably more on like
on Twitter
stuff like that.
alone, they anticipate up to 15% of all interactions are bots.
I believe it.
15%, right? So when I look at something like X, like the average, they say studies suggest around 4 to 5% is kind of your average what you'll experience. 4 to 5% interactions are done by bots. On Twitter, it's 3 times as bad, right?
I mean, you got tons of accounts that are like OnlyFan promoting and stuff. So I can imagine a
That's true.
good portion of those are that. They're
That's
like,
true.
oh, or even like probably like I'd even bet like a good percent of that is like, I wouldn't even say political, but like like those
Oh, there's a
maybe supporting a
ton
war,
of
being like,
political
oh,
bots on there.
like they'll just come in and be like, F the Jews, or
Yep.
F these people, right?
Yep.
Like probably just random bots like that. So
It's
I'm not surprised.
Yeah, a lot of it is to instigate because they get, I mean, think about it. They get paid for interactions. They get paid for engagement. And so a lot of those bots are there just to pad that engagement, just to trigger
I feel
those
like
engagements.
Twitter's probably pennies though, kind of similar to TikTok in a sense. I feel
Oh,
like.
for sure. It's probably not nearly as much, but that's why you have to have as much engagement as they have. That's why you have as much rage baiting as you have on those sites. You know what I mean?
Yeah,
And
yeah,
and
I can bet.
and to segue it back to the game here, because it all kind of wraps up into the game nicely. I think that's the one thing that Doomsday does really well in the community. There isn't really much hatred and division. There's a couple of key stars that we've all kind of agreed are kind of like icons to hate in the industry, right? In the game itself. But
Yeah,
other
yeah,
than
yeah.
that, there's a lot of community. There's a lot of togetherness. There's a lot of, acceptance, and
I
that's
feel like that
awesome.
tends to be the case with base builders, to be honest. Though I've almost never. It's actually a little funny now. I'm thinking about it. The whole hating a few selective people. I played this game called Heckfire, and I think I might have been one of the most hated people that they had. And I say this because and I'm also gonna like a little bit pad myself because I was super young too. So I'm like, I started the game probably when I was 13, 14, right? But I basically went through regions or kingdoms or realms, they called them realms, and I basically would like war nonstop because I was just a maniac. And basically the game's different, so there's allies and stuff, which you can actually strip people of their allies, but basically, there's something called gold, and you could buy other players, and you would basically get biome percents, which is like grass, badlands, etc. And you basically get stats off that. So I had a super stacked account because I just like farmed a ton of resources, constantly would buy allies, and had a pretty good amount. But you could buy people's allies and strip them of gold, because if they get burned while their allies kind of just bought and they haven't collected the gold, you can just burn through their gold. And people actually tried to online zero strip me before, which you can't really zero me because I would play like under hospital cap, which was unintentional because I would attack people so much that I didn't have enough troops to ever fill my hospital. So nobody would try to zero me because it was a waste of troops, because you just fill my hospital, I'll just heal, and then they
Hmm.
try again. But like you could strip me, so I couldn't ever go to sleep like unshielded because people just didn't like me. I did eventually settle down though in like an older realm, and people like
So,
didn't dislike me as much, but
so what
they
was it
still
that made
remember
them
me.
hate you so much? What did you do? Just the way you
It's
talked
it's
to them,
it's just
or?
no, no, it's just the way I went through realms. I will say some people were kind of crazy in chat. I remember someone got permabanned because they were like, uh, they said something about like, it's funny because I had like this video, and I think they were talking about that. I had my friend on my home screen or something, and I
Hmm.
think in my video I went through like my home screen to go to a different account or something because I'd. If you don't know, on Samsung, you can basically have like multi-app applications. So I basically would, jump through them, and basically, because I didn't have a computer or anything, they basically said something because it was this picture of this dude having a ton of like cream on his face. I don't know what it was, like the stuff you just like would rub over your body. He
Sure.
basically had it on his face. It was supposed to be funny,
Yeah.
and I think they thought that was me in the in the picture. They were like, "Your dad's nut all over your face," and the guy got permabanned because I mean, you're also talking to a dude who's like 14 years old, talking about
Yeah.
like his dad's nut on his face. But
That's
it was
not
just kind
very
of funny. Like
nice.
they didn't like me at all because I basically I just warred. I would go to war in every single region I went to, and people would always like hunt me down because I would just fight people. I was a fighting addict. I mean, there was only
So
there
you
weren't
were
like
the safe me of that game.
in a way. I mean,
Yeah.
I kind of just existed in my regions, but yeah, it was different though. To be fair, in nature, the PvP events don't exactly work the same. You only can PvP in your own realm. You didn't have like cross region events at all, so it
Oh,
was
that
like you
sucks.
had very little stuff to interact with. And I actually did this in my own realm, to be fair, because like and people actually thing is in that game you're more aggressive too. Like how in Doomsday you have rules, like you won't burn each other, like you just don't burn in your region, right?
Right.
Resources or not. In this game, tons of realms literally will just burn you and loot all your resources if you're caught without a shield, PvP event or not. They'll just loot you. Right? You know what I mean? Like there's a
It's
like it's a
cutthroat.
super aggressive game, but I was just on the more aggressive end, and I also take that to like me being younger because I feel a little bit bad now looking back. There were probably tons of people who were like pissed off at me because I would just attack everybody. I would just like I literally would start war with alliances because I just needed something to do, and I was
Just a
just I was
rabid
just
pit
bored.
bull on a
And it was
chain.
and I'm not joking. I had multiple players who would do this with me, and not a single one of them were an adult. Like I literally had multiple people who were like around my age, and we just like were menaces to the community. And I was like, I feel bad now
Just
looking
to,
back, but it's like it is
just
what it
like
is, bro.
look at it from a perspective of just this gang of 13, 14-year-olds just
No
harassing
joke,
people.
dude. It's no joke. I'm not even joking. I had like at least three friends, maybe. Like there was this one guy, Timmy, this one dude, Odic, this random girl, I think her name was Viper or something, and then
This
maybe a
is
fourth guy.
this community gang of teenagers running around terrorizing everybody.
No joke,
Yeah,
dude. No
I need
joke.
my
I was just like
Starbucks.
literally,
Yeah.
and yeah, and like I said, nobody could do anything to me because I literally would just attack people to get kills. I
Yeah.
was like in the top 20 in the world on that game. I didn't spend like anything either, which is what's funny. But I was like top 20 in like kills in the whole game,
Jeez.
and nobody could do anything to me because, like I said, I didn't have enough troops. But like best they could do was buy my allies and try to online strip me
Yeah.
because I wouldn't go to sleep without a shield normally.
Right.
I did get stripped once because I would pass out like attacking people sometimes. Like I literally would be up at night and just like they did that to me one of those times because I just passed out
It's
attacking
like
people. I was like,
in
bro.
the middle of
And I woke up
punishment.
and I was like, damn, they took my gold. Because you couldn't loot the gold, but you could basically buy their allies and just destroy it. But if they collected the gold, you could then loot it. You know what I mean? But
That's so funny.
they were
You
on my
just
meat, man.
you're just like
They hated me.
just sitting there on the game, putting through, and just
Yeah, it's no. I mean, I was usually playing in bed though. I didn't have like a computer at the time, so I would be playing in bed, and I just like I'm just out.
How many times you dropped the phone on your face? That's what I want to know.
Not on my. I don't think I've ever dropped it on my face. I feel like I usually played like kind of like leaned against the wall, so it would just probably fall on my stomach on the bright side. I don't. I can't play on my back. It just doesn't feel right to me. I don't know how
It
people
does
do
feel
that.
weird.
Like,
It does feel weird.
I can't do that. It just
Yeah.
it's different.
I can't even play on my phone, so I don't even understand how people do that, let alone anything else. Once I put it to PC, bro.
But yeah, once you start PC, you can't go back. I don't know how people like. This is my R4 Cas. He says it's easier or better to play on the phone from. I'm like, what? Like,
how?
no, bro.
What? No,
like,
how?
It's smoother on your computer. You got more just screen room. I don't know. Like even clicking, like using your mouse is much easier than
using a
like,
finger.
your tiny fingers where like you got little like. It's just much bigger, right? Like obviously you got little stub fingers. You're freaking tapping around. You don't want to misclick a march. I don't know. It's just
typing, communication, leading fucking everything.
Typing as well. I'm much quicker at typing. I got like I don't know. I'm like 100 words per minute. So
look on my phone, I type with what 2 thumbs, right? That's how you type when you're 2 thumbs, right? At least when I'm using my keyboard, I get like 3 other digits.
I'll use all 10 fingers.
Show off. Listen to this guy.
I used to play Nitro type in school, bro. I was like 100 words per minute. I'm telling you, I'm a tryhard, so like it's much easier for me on my computer. I hate typing off my phone.
Listen to this show off playing typing sharks and shit like that, man.
Hey, I gotta flex a little bit.
He learns how to use all 8 digits and 2 thumbs.
You needed to if you wanted to be like a tryhard Nitro typer, bro. I used to only use one finger. It was very convenient because I took like computer classes. Then I took coding and I wanted to kill myself, but you know how that works.
I think I use these 6. I don't use my ring fingers much. They seem so weak to me. Yeah, I don't think I use my ring fingers much.
I don't know. I use mine quite a bit. I don't know. The only fingers I normally would like really have troubles with is maybe my pinky fingers, just because they're off the side, and I would just use that for like shifting or something.
Yeah. Or A. A lot of A.
I don't know how people like. One thing I don't understand. First shooters. I played like this game called Valorant for the longest time.
Valorant.
I actually wasn't. I was pretty good. I was pretty good though. I mean, before like Emerald and stuff came out, I almost hit Immortal, but like and I was like on a 2 sensitivity, so I like. Literally was a spin player.
Oh god.
Just like flick shot people. But I don't know like I don't understand how some of the like I literally will have to like, I don't know. It's usually my thumb that's like messed up. I have to like I don't remember what keybind it is, but it would be like something in the bottom corner. I don't know how people are able to use a mouse and freaking tap everything they need. Like I would like have to go out of my way sometimes. I don't remember what key it was for. If I played the game still, I would know, but it would literally like throw me off most of the time. I'm like, dude, how do these pros do it, dude? They must just have like freaking long, lanky fingers. I mean, it's
not even just that. I watch some of these guys. It's how they place their keyboard.
Yeah, some of them are like, I think it's
shifted.
Some of them are super popular. I think it's in like China or it's in Korea or something. They'll have like their keyboard kind of like to the side. I think it is.
Yeah.
Is that what you're talking about? And
they'll have like it shifted to the side, so they have WASD, but then it's like easier for their thumb to hit like T up there and like all the other. They just turn the keyboard and play it sideways. I'm like, I don't get it.
It's what you call little demons, dude. It's probably just like a microsecond difference in like reaction speed, but it pays off, bro. That's how they go on attorneys and stuff. I mean, like Koreans and stuff are no joke in those freaking tournaments. I don't know, like I've never seen like more tryhard teams or players than like Koreans or just Koreans. Honestly, they're like the hardest players. I think like it's well known in the community too. Like they're just built different. And I mean, I don't know. Maybe it's just gamer genes or something. They just got it built in them when they come out the womb. They're just like keyboard, freaking fingers on the keyboard.
Well, I mean, you look at a lot of it can be brought up. If you think about it, a lot of it is brought up with the culture of things, right? So if you look,
I mean, even like normal gaming, I feel like people dispose more in like certain countries on like how much they're willing to spend on a game. Like they'll be eating ramen noodles just so they can keep playing Doomsday at a competitive level. They're like,
I got it. Competition is a totally different game. I mean, once you understand that in parts of China there are competitions where the point is to basically hack the game. Do you know what I mean? Like there's cheaters competitions where it's like competitively who can be best at being a hacker or at being, at using these, ways to skirt the competition. Like it's at a totally different level. That's like having
Learn
Olympics
something
with
new every day.
steroids, you know?
Learn something new every day, dude. I did not know about that. That's crazy.
Yeah.
I did know they like are probably more competitive. I mean, maybe it's also to like what's it called? Work on like exploits and stuff,
Yeah.
maybe. I
Yeah,
don't know. Maybe like
absolutely.
I mean, like it's kind of the same as like I guess buying somebody or paying somebody to like try to hack your company or
Mhm.
hack your website to make sure like you can cover up like
Yeah.
the bugs or the breaches in the wall or whatever the case.
And I have no problems with watching competition if everybody's using the same hacks. You know what I mean? If everybody has wall hacks on, totally. I'm fucking game. Let's do it. You know what I mean? Like I said, it's like
That's
Olympics with steroids. If everybody was on steroids in the Olympics, we got world
I
records
think there I
set.
think there I think there was actually I don't remember when saw this video, but I swear like a year ago or maybe 2 years or something like that, I saw a video where someone was trying to make an Olympics for people on steroids, which is actually kind of funny because I mean when you really think about it, most of the people or I wouldn't say most, but a lot of the people who are like probably record breakers probably are on steroids or
Of some
are on
kind,
something
some
sort.
advancement of something. You know what I mean?
Yeah, but they're not going to admit that. You know what I mean? Like I mean
Hey, look, it took
I
that
don't
one
know,
ball
but I mean,
bicycle guy a long time to admit that he was doping. So I mean, I don't blame them, right? We have all these rules that say don't do it. And again, I'm not sitting here saying that competition is only good when it's souped up, but there's a reason
but
why
I mean
we race the fast cars. Do you know what I'm saying?
yeah. I mean like there's no way like people are bound to steroid up. I mean, it's just how the world works, you know what I mean? So it's like as long as everybody's on an even playing field,
That's
let's
right.
go
So
crazy.
instead of limiting them, fucking bring it on. Everybody
And they're
start
gonna yeah,
juicing.
let them all die at 30. That'll make it a little bit better.
Look,
Everybody's
if
gonna be souping it up to the max.
they're gonna be setting world records. We're gonna do that the 100 meters in like 4.5 seconds. But he's gonna
Yeah, but
die
I
on the
know it was
end.
mentioned
You know
like
what I mean?
how dangerous it is to
Oh
have like
yeah, totally.
no limitations because then people are just gonna be like, oh well, they're not gonna check me out because they all know we're all on steroids, so let's
Yeah.
go crazy and they're gonna be freaking Superman
It's
for
almost
a
like
week and
if
they'll
we
die.
don't, yeah, if we don't limit them, it creates like the potential for people just to be stupid, and people take that potential very easily. You know what I mean? Like
Yeah,
people are stupid, so it would definitely not prevent them from proving that stereotype.
and that's human nature 101 right there. What do you expect,
But I mean, at the end of the
honestly?
day, I mean, that's why we have set rules in place is to help balance, right? So we have balance and competition. And to bring it back to the game yet again, we were just talking today about how the matchmaking and balance in Doomsday
Oh
is
my
something
god.
that we are missing.
Or our poor star, bro. We wanted that star so bad. We were like two more wins, and then
So
we
you have to get
freaking
what, 16 wins?
no. So we had a 16 win streak, but you have seasons. I don't know if you've ever seen like the little ranking board.
Yeah.
You need 13 wins in a season, plus you have to be top 10. So, like there's a lot that goes into the rating, but you have to be the top 10 in the whole season to
Yeah.
get the star in your banner. Plus, like, because no matter what, people are the top 10 are going to be a 13 win streak. So you have to win all 13 matches that season. We were on 11-0, dude. We were 11-0. We were number 6 on the freaking rankings, and we lost it because we met Ryle, who just came and swarmed everybody down. I'll say we held the helipad for like 30 minutes, so that's our accomplishment.
That's the feather in the hat, right?
Oh my gosh,
But
yeah, we were trying our best, bro.
but correct me if I'm wrong. A lot of the matchmaking, especially at the top, isn't necessarily fair because, like, I would assume it's more that there's not much to choose from, though, isn't there?
Yeah. That's honestly one of my arguments for Apex. Honestly, like some people will complain about being in Apex in the matchmaking, but it's like when you get to the top 0.1%, it's like you're picking between a basket of players, right?
Mm-hmm.
And you can't always have, like especially like something like Genesis War. I remember hearing people argue about like how matchmaking wasn't. To be fair, Genesis War matchmaking isn't amazing, especially in Apex because they'll split like some of the top alliances into two different war zones. But even if the matchmaking was as good as it possibly be, what are you gonna get? Like let's say you get Boone, SSI, HMB, ROK, whatever the case, right? All in the same war zone in the first ring. Then what? You get two of the top ones to move forward, maybe meet a third one like DHX or something. Then you get a ton of other alliances that are in the losers queue are going to get the other strong alliances. Like no matter what, you're going to get screwed over in one way or another. I
Yep.
will say like the best matchmaking I found is in the brackets we're in. And that's for me in the top of elite because not only are most of the alliances at a similar strength scale. So like, it can be hit or miss, especially if you're in like GW. Like we registered maybe like 7 bill. We met alliances that maybe were like 9 bill, but it happens, right?
Mm-hmm.
But at the end of the day, a lot of these teams are kind of on a similar scale where they're reliant on one or two main whales, which is basically every alliance in the top war zones, like in elite. So I can't complain about that. But most of them are reliant on like one or two main whales, and then they have a really good core group. So like those are kind of the closest fights I usually ever get, and I wouldn't even want to go to like Fearless or anything because that has like a lot of people who are kind of smurfing down there, and then you get a ton of like it's way more hit or miss than like the top of elite because at least you know going in like what you're getting. Whereas
Mm-hmm.
Fearless, you're either like you have like maybe a team of just average T6 or no T6 fighting like some random whale who wanted to smurf, or some like team of multiple whales who are min maxing in the smallest war zone possible. So it's like, it's super hit or miss. But I've definitely had my best matchmaking playing in the top of elite because you know what you're expecting. I mean, there's obviously variables like in our last ring we had NTD, we had HOD1, we had us, and we had this Dark Alliance. And Dark had, you probably know, Ash. Do you know him from SSI? He's
Mm-hmm.
like 400 mil. We had him, we had another whale, we had another whale, we had another whale. They just swarmed our towers out. Like we were defending best we could. We were field fighting them for a bit. At some point, we just kind of got overwhelmed, and they just had the two mega whales swarming our towers to death. They had the two kind of camping the field. So like if you tried to kill the swarmers, they just like rush you down, and that's like we were killing the swarmers pretty well because we still have Big D to garrison, but
Mm-hmm.
we don't have the same whale power. But
That's true.
there's the obvious variables, but at the end of the day, it's like it's just matchmaking, right? I feel like this happens in any game, so it's like we can accept the occasional kind of like beatdown, but being
I
able to
think
have like the most fair matchmaking, it's just nice. And I mean, matchmaking in every game is kind of imperfect. I
sure,
don't think
sure.
people realize that all the time, but it's kind of like I don't know. It can be hit or miss no matter where you go, but I don't know
Since
how good or bad this game is doing in comparison, but
Well, I mean, it's true. If you compare it to other games, I mean, it's one of those situations where, like, I look at it and think wholeheartedly how bad the matchmaking is. A lot of it, I think, though, has to do with not necessarily um, the like the their matchmaking and rating as best that they can given the alternatives, because here's my perspective on it. Right now, like you mentioned, you have a lot of bigger players that are moving to smaller alliances. They're trying to get away from Apex. They've had their, they had their play in Apex, realized how taxing it is, how expensive it is. It's not cheap. I mean, I don't think you can really fight in Apex very successfully for free.
yeah, and I'll also say this real quick, if you don't mind me cutting in.
Yeah, yeah.
Like, it's even a drama. I mean, Big D, Big D's in my alliance. Like, he obviously, what's it called, likes just Prime in general, but he also just doesn't really want to fight in Apex. Not to mention, you just have so much drama between these top alliances.
Mm-hmm.
Like, if you pick to ally with another team, you're potentially pitting another alliance against you for freaking the rest of the time, right? And like, I mean, UOD is a really good example because UOD literally is the most neutral alliance I've ever seen. But I remember fighting against one of their players in Genesis War and like Lee, and they mentioned like, oh yeah, it's just super hard to stay neutral. Like it's just hard because they're gonna like people are gonna like look at you one way or another. Like, oh, you allied with ROK this event. Oh, that's interesting. That's interesting. Maybe you're an enemy forever. Like, bro, like why can't we just enjoy the game, enjoy fights, and
Just
not
take
make
it
this?
as each event as it comes up.
Yeah, which I mean, like
Yeah.
I said, they do it and they're pretty neutral, so they're able to kind of enjoy the game probably more than these top alliances because they're literally like fighting rivalry. Uh, I mean, and rivalries can be interesting. I think the best rivalry was the whole Boone HMB ANCS arc, which was even better because you obviously didn't have like workshop, armaments and all that kind of stuff,
Mm-hmm.
and it made it like a lot more kind of like it was literally one team wins, another team wins, this team wins, this team wins, right, back
Yeah,
and forth
it was more
constantly
balanced
between
in
the
that
two.
situation.
And to be fair, like I'm not gonna like bash Doomsday completely for releasing stuff like armaments and stuff because I know a lot of people have complaints about, oh, this should have never come out. But realistically, games are always gonna scale up, and it's kind of an expectation that they are. I will say, like the thing that sucked about Doomsday was it wasn't the fact that they implemented them; it's the fact that how they implemented them. They implemented them so quickly on top of each
There it
other.
is.
They aren't kind of taking enough like time in between stuff. I mean, even when armaments release, you would expect them to maybe release, let's say, a small section of armaments, right? or like a very like minimal amount, maybe even like not even releasing legendaries right off the bat, right? And maybe slowly implementing that into the game. But they literally released, I don't remember how many it was, but it was like over 100 armaments. And it's like, dude, you're just overwhelming everybody right away. Like, you could have probably implemented this way better. And like I said, like, people are going to complain and be like, oh, the game was so good back then. And yeah, it was. But games are always going to scale up. They got to find new revenue streams. And I mean, I try to always look at it from a kind of developer perspective, because at the end of the day, these guys are making games to make
Yep.
money. So it's like,
Yep.
but what you really want from these kind of developers is to implement stuff in a way that's going to make them money but still healthy for the community, because you got to understand, like, these guys are still going to make, they're going to, no matter what you say, no matter how much you complain, they're going to implement something that's going to keep their revenue kind of solid and
Hmm.
up on a good stream,
And,
right? So
and
it's
here's
just
the
like,
thing,
I don't know,
I
it needs to
can't.
be in a healthy way.
Yeah, and I can't fault them for making money. We live in a capitalist society where that's effectively the entire goal, is to turn a profit and to turn as much profit as you can. And they have found their niche, they have found their situation to be able to, pull a decent amount of coin from people. And even as much as we complain about it, we still do it. We still play. We still invest our hard-earned money into it. Don't get me wrong. I'm not investing as much as I probably could. And a lot of that is a lot, based on how IGG, chooses to market its products. Prime example, you look at the Miyamoto skin for $400. Any skin for $400. If that skin
Yeah.
was $50 or $100, you'd get far more people buying it. You'd get far more people, taking it. And now the argument is, if everybody has it, then what's the balance? But that's the whole purpose. The whole purpose of it is to balance everything so that the difference in conflict, the difference in battle, is not based on who's stronger, but who's smarter, who's a better statistician, or,
I,
you know.
I can understand having some aspects that are very reliant on money, like even like armaments and stuff. Like, I can understand it. It's just how you're going to earn really good money off these whales. Though I do agree with you on like stuff like skins. Like, I wonder how their profits would look compared to maybe like if they, how they are right now compared to if they sold like Miyamoto skin for $10, right? If everybody's more willing to drop $10 on it. And I don't understand. It's one thing to have like the skin, maybe giving, their buffs respectively. I don't know. I don't even think like the skin really needed buffs. I think it would have been fine if they just sold it as a cosmetic. They probably would have gotten as much money or nearly as much money, and they wouldn't have upset maybe as many people.
Mm-hmm.
You know what I mean? If you're
Mm-hmm.
just buying the skin for like $5, $10, kind of like Fortnite or something. But at the same time, I also don't understand. Like, I can't completely comprehend, what Doomsday knows and understands or like thinks, like, because at the end of the day, they are a company that's a $1 billion company. They release multiple games, and they probably have more information on how this stuff works, and how good stuff would like sell in comparison to like if they tried to sell it maybe free or sorry, lower price or something. You know what I mean? So I
So,
don't know.
so the question then becomes: is their mentality more about the longevity of the game, or is their mentality more about getting as much money out of it as fast as they can?
Yeah, I've kind of thought about that as well, because it's like you want them to be satisfied with whatever they're making without kind of just jeopardizing everybody's playing experience. I mean, like,
That's right.
migration's a good example. Uh, I've definitely seen worse games when it comes to milking. Like, I saw this one game that went from I remember when I started it, I was like a little trap account, right? With like maybe a few million troops at best.
Sure.
And then I remember years later playing the game. I hadn't been like super active, but I came back and I had billions of troops and I would still get burned by someone sending like 3 million troops to burn me, right? Like, there's some games that are just absolutely atrocious
Yeah,
at
yeah.
how they milk. Like, adding so much. So I can somewhat appreciate them in some aspects. I remember this. I don't know if you've ever seen Rise of Kingdoms. I haven't
Yeah.
really played it super in in depth, but I know, for example, people complain about this one feature they have, or this like one kind of pack or whatever you want to call it. But honestly, I like how Rise of Kingdoms revenue kind of model looks, because this, although does add a scale of like pay to win factor, etc., it doesn't completely break the game. So basically, what they do is, do you know they have crystal tech and stuff when you
Mm-hmm.
play when you play like Kingdoms? I like how they actually had the crystal tech feature, because people are able to spend money, but that's not a long lasting feature that's going to like completely change their technology forever. It encourages, your top whales to maybe spend money to make sure they have the competitive advantage for that KVK. You know what I mean? But it doesn't inherently change their account. They don't have workshop. I know they have armaments, but they're probably cheaper than freaking Doomsday's armaments.
Mm-hmm.
And like they're able to have a substantial amount of income constantly over the years just from Crystal Tech without having to add new and newer and newer and newer features over and over and over to
Mm-hmm.
constantly make sure they're getting more revenue and keeping the revenue kind of at a standstill, I suppose, or like around the same amount. You know what I mean? Because
Well, this
obviously people are
becomes
going to spend less over time.
yeah, and this becomes my I mean biggest fundamental point. It's not necessarily that IGG is doing wrong by releasing the things that they're doing in regards to the game. I honestly think the progression is fine. I'm don't have a problem with them adding things like beasts. I don't have a problem with them adding things like chips. I won't have a problem with them adding things like genes when they unlock the genes app or the genes function here whenever they decide to throw that at us. My biggest hindrance with this is simply at the rate at which they're throwing things at us. It doesn't give us, number one, enough time to understand the mechanics or the metrics that they're using. But number two, it doesn't give us the capability of actually growing enough within the time that they're adding new stuff. So if you look, for example, between, just in the last year and a half, right? In the last year and a half since they introduced armaments, I mean, the metric went from heroes and troops, and that was it. And then all of a sudden now it's heroes and troops, but now you have armaments, vehicles, beasts, survivors, all of that stuff that now you have to concentrate on all in the same, year of progress.
I will say, I will say this though. I think one of their best implementations was probably Survivors
Mm-hmm.
because they're probably the most free to play friendly.
Yep.
I mean, obviously you'll get a little bit of an edge if you spin, but it's like super. It's just a feature, right? I don't really have an issue with Survivors. It's probably one of the only features that I've had no complaints about.
Mm-hmm.
Even Beast, to be honest, they do have an inherent value, especially if you're like a whale and you're garrison or rallies. But it does kind of make it. I mean, obviously they might change it in the future with genes or something, so I can't really say like a year down the line or something. But as of now, beasts haven't really had much of an impact on the field or anything, which doesn't really force or make players feel inclined to spend on it like they would with workshop as an average player or something.
Mm-hmm.
You know what I mean? Whereas whales, obviously, whales are players too, but it does just feel better when like only like your top spenders really need to feel inclined to spend on like maybe a feature to kind of improve their account or improve like the overall like impact on maybe how a
Well,
garrison or rally goes instead of like how the field fighting goes.
not to
Completely, you
mention,
know what I mean?
you brought up a good point in regards to beasts because in reality, kind of one of the things that we've been jumping back and forth on is how influential beasts actually are, and I think as you've mentioned in the field themselves, they're not really influential because number one, they only engage in fights with other beasts, right? That's the only thing, the only time they're fighting.
Yeah, and they die so fast that you don't have enough time to actually start dealing damage to like units a lot of the times.
Well,
It's just like
not only that, but even if you're smart enough, if you simply refresh your marches when your beast dies, you don't take any beast damage anymore, anyways.
yep.
Right? So you can
It's just
avoid that shit very simply. But like you mentioned, in rallies or garrisons, those beasts actually do show some significant numbers. They do show some significant influence. So even if you're not spending on it, it's one of those situations where even for free, you can still focus on those physical beasts, your garrison beasts and your rally beasts, and do pretty well. I'm a garrison main myself, and the only reason I can do that is because I have a level 90 pangolin who's max potential because I'm an idiot,
sheesh,
and
the
that's what I
level
did.
90.
Yeah, I mean it's only the
Goodness.
crystal. It's only the crystal pangolin. It's not hammer pangolin. Don't get it
Oh,
twisted.
okay. It's not the legendary. Okay.
No, it's
I was gonna
just
say
the elite.
you have
I'm
a lot
not
more
I'm
XP.
not like Zed. Okay, I'm not like Z.
But Big D's our main garrison, so like he's everywhere. So he's the only guy who's really got to spin on beast. I mean, we do have other guys, but realistically, I don't know. Like, I don't think it's like I don't think like if you get your beast to a certain point, and I'll be honest, I'm also gonna say this, they're pretty easy. I wouldn't say easy, but like they're pretty easy to like just max out and finish. You know what I mean? Like you could
Mm-hmm.
even just max out your one beast, and it's just like, oh, it's over, right? I mean, obviously, if you're garrisoning multiple towers, you probably are more affected or more kind of pushed to maybe max out multiple sets of like a similar beast or a garrison beast or whatever. But honestly, these beasts haven't like been too hard for like main whales to max out and just kind of finish off if they really need to. Like I mean, it's still gonna be a money drain, but in and out really quickly. I don't know. I just like beasts a lot more than any of the other features in regards to like spenders.
I think it just adds to me. It adds a different layer that is a different focus. Like, I mean, I think you made it right. You made a right point when you said that like they're not really as influential. A lot of it is not necessarily as influential. So the money's not necessarily like the money that these whales are putting into these beasts isn't as impactful in their accounts because. I mean, if you think about it, like I said, the field fighting that you're getting from the beasts themselves isn't really as impactful in the fights. The only time is on rallies and garrisons. So, feel free to dump all your money into those and have them do well. That's fine. But again, the influence that you're getting on the other ones, like I see Otachis running around and I see knife heads running around and I'm like, yeah, they look great. But that's about it. They look great. You know what I mean?
Yeah,
Like
yeah.
they look good. They
Yeah,
look
it's,
really cool.
and like I said, like there's always a potential that they change in the future with like
Yeah.
genes and stuff. So it's like the only thing that I can imagine that like would suck are the people who are like fear of FOMO. Like you don't wanna not get a Tachi in them and then be like, oh no, in the future when you can't like utilize those special beasts. But I don't know. It really depends on if genes kind of introduce something new. Because like even chips, I thought chips were gonna maybe add like a base stat or something. Right? I was like maybe these are really gonna change how they work, like just a normal attack stat or something that's actually gonna impact your troops. But they just are like grass damage reduction or whatever the case, right? I'm like, bro, like,
Beast crit damage,
yeah.
3.5%. You're like, yay, my. So again, none of that matters until the beasts are dead.
And then the freaking chips are freaking beast specific like type. I'm like, bro, are
Yeah.
you kidding me?
Now
Are you
there's like
kidding me? I can't even
900 chips you have to
handling.
focus on. What the fuck?
No, heck no, bro. And like honestly, I even like the recent event. It wasn't
Oh.
all that kind of it didn't make you feel inclined to spend on it, but I will say, like, for people who do spend on bees, it's a bit better because you're also what's it called? They put the packs together between both events. I don't
Mm-hmm.
know if you noticed that.
Oh, you're talking
And
about
like,
the biohazard frenzy.
yeah, and they the packs are literally implemented into each other.
Yeah.
The same price that you would already have gotten for the other ones, and they just put them together, which is honestly a pretty nice touch.
Yeah.
I can appreciate that.
I just did a video on the biohazard frenzy, and truth be told, as my opinion on it was, it's a great event for, especially for free to play players because the rewards you get are pretty good for free. You don't have to spend on it. I mean, obviously, it's a spenders event, right? Spenders are going to do better and they're going to rank higher.
That's just how everything
How
works.
every
So.
event works, right? So I'm not concerned about that. My only real qualm is that it really just limits access to those other devices, like the was that radio array device that we can't get from the shop anymore. And
Um. Oh wait. Are you talking about the shop for the like silver and gold
yeah,
coins?
yeah. So we don't
Oh
have
yeah,
the
yeah,
we
yeah.
don't have that shop anymore. So you don't have that device. You don't have those troop skin vouchers anymore. So they've removed all of those rewards.
I'm wondering if they're gonna change, like, or they're gonna add something new that's gonna be
That's what this
towards that
is.
or what.
Well, that's the only
Um,
other thing that I'm thinking.
well, I didn't see like any way to get like the gold or silver coins. I'm guessing they're gonna add maybe a new shop or something because I can't imagine them just completely like making like, especially since there's so many skins that rely on vouchers. I just can't imagine them like completely removing the possibility to obtain like skin vouchers and even the armament, right? I imagine
Mm-hmm.
they'll implement it in another event or another way. So I don't know. I
I
don't
mean,
know though.
I mean, I hope so. But as it appears so far, they've literally traded this event. And again, if it was its own event, totally fine. It's a great little thing. It doesn't cost you anything. It's a great way to get free rewards. It is a lot more clicking. And I think honestly, one of my biggest gripes with IGG right now is that there's so much fucking clicking to do in the day.
So much stuff, yeah. Especially for
Like,
me, I have multiple accounts. So I'm like, bro, like every
yeah,
time the week resets, it's the worst part for me. I'm like,
yeah. Because then you have to do
oh,
and then it takes like
you got to
25,
do
30 minutes on the
do
beast
arena. You got
thing.
to do the beast suppression thing, and you got to just auto it. I'm like, come on, man. Like,
And
I'm
then
running 8 accounts over here.
yeah, and then if you're doing it on multiple, I only run 3 or 4
I
at
don't even
once.
I don't even do radar station. I haven't done it for like over a year because it's just like, bro, I'm not doing that. I'm not doing all of this. Y'all already got me running around like a rage dog.
Dude, that
I'm
radar
not
station pass,
lifesaver, but
chef's
I'm
kiss.
not spending $5. I'm not even like gonna spend $5 in it. I'm just not gonna spend unless I really find something worth it because I just don't care enough to. It was funny because I don't know if you know Slim, right? He was on Discord yesterday in the chat, and this is actually funny because we're talking about spending now. He was talking like saying I made like I make over $1,000 a month or something on my channel. I'm like, bro, you're on some like you're smoking something, dude. I don't know what you got, but I want it. And he basically was trying to like argue his point, and I'm like, dude, what? Like you're arguing with the guy who has the channel, bro. You're wrong. You're just wrong. But it's just funny. And he was talking about how, oh well, if you made all this money, you could have just reinvested into the game. I'm like, bro, even if I made that money, I probably wouldn't reinvest any if not like most of it at all. I would, if I invested anything, it would be a very small percent. He was like, you should just reinvest it in your account. Like, no, bro. It's no. Like,
Listen, I don't.
financial responsibility doesn't exist here apparently. Like,
Yeah,
come on now.
we have a different understanding of money. I look at, I look at the scrapings that I make from YouTube as a way to pay off my own, like, to pay off my internet. You know what I mean? Like, I make enough
Yeah.
to like pay
Like,
the basic shit.
I'm fine. Yeah, getting like some basic stuff on Doomsday with it. Like that's cool. But I'm not
Yeah.
gonna like unless I'm in, like super incentivized, like extremely, and I'm earning like a living off of Doomsday. Why would I invest hundreds or thousands of dollars just to build my account up to like make maybe my PvP better or something? I mean, I don't
Yeah.
even do like PvP content that's just me fighting it out or anything. I do a lot of like overviewing my map or like just the rallies and maybe that's field fighting a little bit, but it's not like I don't do like long form videos of me just like field fighting. If I did that more, I did like, a lot of streams, maybe I'd have more of a incentive or something, but
Sure.
that's just not me. Oh yeah, and let me really quickly, I was thinking about this. We were talking about like bad stuff or whatever the game, right? Release workshop. I remember this, and I don't know if you ever saw my video on it, but they had originally made it to where tier 3 was behind a paywall. You
Yeah.
probably remember that, right?
Yeah.
I freaking make a video on it, and I'm like, I understand them releasing new stuff, but it makes zero sense to have something behind a paywall, right? Like that kind of stuff just doesn't make no sense. It just made zero sense. Like you're
Sure.
literally restricting pins of stats, all that work, firepower, etc. I make a video, and I swear the next day they sent out a mail where they're like, "We're gonna make it to where you can get these for like free without having to spend it." I'm like, I just
These
made
sons of bitches. Yeah.
like they watch my video and they're like, "Oh, Panda, goddamn you, Panda!" And then
That reminds me of because I had made that protest video during GW when they had that back to back GW like 5 weeks in a row or whatever they did when they first introduced GW. You remember that?
mm-hmm.
And I had done a video basically bitching about the schedule and how ridiculous the schedule was. And like a week later, they sent out a schedule change video or a schedule change thing that says, "Okay, well, we're gonna do this and this." And I'm like, "Are you seriously? That'd be great, but like, really?"
It's a little funny you mention that because I remember they had something like that with it was Dark Seal Island Raid, I believe, Archipelago, and I feel like there was a fourth event or something. But they had an event every single week,
Yep.
and people complained about it, right? So they fixed it and they made it like like one every 2 weeks, right? And they freaking do this again, and I'm like, I swear these guys are doing it to like exhaust people, but people are still going to compete because it's like they feel inclined to, and they're going to spend more money as a result. And then once people are like fed up, they remove it, and they're like, "Oh well, we hear you guys. We're going to fix the schedule." And I'm like, y'all, you guys knew what you were doing when you reverted back to that old schedule. You guys knew exactly what you were doing.
And then I do give them a little bit of credit though, like. When I think about the decisions that IGG has made in order to get to where they are, right? Like in order to get, I don't fault them by any stretch. They obviously know more about this stuff than I do. However, if I was in their position, there's a lot of different things that I would do. Not saying it would make them any more money.
If I was in their position, there's a lot of money that I'd make.
If I was in their position, I would. I don't even know if I would do that. Like, here's the thing, man. My whole mentality.
I'm joking around, but I think
no, for
about
sure,
it, like,
but even then, that's a lot of money.
actually,
Let's be real.
you
Money.
finish up what
Money
you were
changes.
saying, and I'll tell you what I was going to say.
Well, I was just going to say,
mentality.
it's just one of those things where it's like, even if I was the CEO of the company, right? Even if I was in that position to make, I would probably make decisions that would sacrifice the top line to increase the playing experience forever. Like, here's a prime example. For me. And you can maybe answer this question for me. Why this isn't something they addressed. They allowed 2,200 alliances to complete in the events, right? The top 2,200 alliances can compete in GW, IR, AR. Now, that would be fine to have a limited access if it
They
was
should gradually increase it.
right. If the relationship of how many alliances that they had was going up as well, right? So because they keep opening up new regions, which opens up new alliances, which opens up, and that number keeps going up, how come the number of the access isn't going up?
Yeah, I remember thinking about that too. I was like, this is just stupid. Like, I don't get why they don't do like maybe for every like 100 regions, even if it's just 50 alliances, like increase it by this much or increase it by 100 or like I don't get that. It just made no sense to me. So I do agree with you. I will say this though, when you were talking about like if you were the CEO or whatever, I also think of it like we don't completely know how the structure works because it's also there's probably people in like white suits, who are investors or whatever who probably they're forced or inclined to somehow keep the revenue the same or increase the revenue they're making from a certain game, even if it's just like quick money. Because at the end of the day, if they see like, oh, your revenue, you're making less money than you made last month, or you're making less money than you made last year, this isn't good. Basically, sorry, Bert, but they
No, it's fine.
basically have less. I guess just people might pull out or they just will be like, oh well, you're not running things right or whatever the case, right? But I get what you're saying though. Like I definitely would like to make a longevity type thing if I was to run a game. I would want people to be invested in the long term. But at the end of the day, these are ruthless businesses. The
There's,
CEO might not even have much of a choice about how he's running things completely either, because there's obviously people who also have stakes in like IGG or whatever who kind of are their backbone or whatever.
sure. Yeah. And
So
and again, it all comes down to, the dynamics of having to balance making money between making an app that's going to sustain. And I think the biggest understanding is that no matter what they do, the game is not going to last forever. I think they think that as
yeah,
well, right?
yeah. I mean, that's just game 101. I mean, like obviously you can have a game that lasts for 5 years, 10 years, but it you literally it's just business. You have to keep upscaling, and eventually people are going to get sick of it. Eventually there's going to be too much content. I mean, even Rise of Kingdoms, it's been super successful. It's lasted as long as it has, but I'm sure there's going to be people who are going to eventually get tired. Your main core player base who's been playing for maybe 10 plus years at some point are going to start dropping out. I mean, even if you're selling accounts, it's not the same. You know what I mean? Like you're not going to have and you're like I said, you're gonna have more features that keep coming out, and it's like a newer game, a fresher game that probably is more called more with the times, right? I mean, like you
Sure.
could think of it
More
like
relevant.
how we have field combat, right? In like Doomsday, like we didn't used to have that until like Rise of Kingdoms or something, right? Obviously, other games that there are still plenty of successful games that don't have field combat and stuff, but people move on. They find something that's better, more advanced, more with the times, and there's probably going to be something like that eventually in the future that's going to introduce something that has more incentive for me to play it. Be like, oh well, this game has hyper field fight. I don't know.
Well, not only that, but I mean, you look at the other games that are out on the market across a lot of different platforms, and even the ones that have the most longevity, right? The most supportive groups and
Community.
communities that go with them. Something like GTA, for example. I mean, these are diamond. I mean, these are diamonds in the rough. Like they're not something you find every day. These are a very couple examples where they're able to turn something into a longevity into something that's going to sustain 15, 20 years, right? So, I mean, I don't even think that in their mind they're looking at Doomsday as being something that can sustain that long.
Well, yeah. Although I'll say it's different with something like GTA. I mean, you can always like the whole point of GTA is like a lot of it's the storyline, how the world's built and stuff. I mean, they're literally building new worlds every single time. Whereas like something like Doomsday, you just can't do that. It's a base builder, you know what I mean? Like you're literally built like it's a different structure completely, and you have like your limitations of sorts, right?
Mm-hmm.
Whereas like these games like Call of Duty, etc., you can always release a new game, have more hype around it, just be like, okay, well these are we're implementing new changes, and I don't know, it's hard to explain, but there's obviously like more to work with in
Yep.
like games like these, communities like these. Whereas like something like
Well, I think that's
Doomsday,
sorry. That's
something that
exactly kind of what I was getting into is the fact that if you look at something like GTA, for example, I mean, one of the reasons that it's been able to sustain so long is that even in that time, they do add new things, but it's not something that necessarily redesigns the entire game. It's just something that adds more context to it. And I think that can be said so much with this game as well, because a new addition that they add, whether it's armaments or whether it's beasts or whether it's survivors or, what other addition they add, it's another layer of context and mechanics and how the game works. And all it's really doing is making it more complex and giving us more things to work for. So it's not like I'm hating them on it for that. Like I said, the real issue I have is simply on the timing. I wish they would give us more time to experience stuff.
It feels too rushed, surely. And I agree. It's just like you feel like it becomes a job at some point, a hassle. And I also say this: you think about and this is even one reason I started originally playing Doomsday over something like Rise of Kingdoms. You also think like eventually a game gets so old, it's so developed and stuff that you go into this game and you're like, well, this game's already 8 years old. This game's however long, right? It's like, why play in this kind of game, have to start from scratch? I mean, you can even buy an account, but even then, you're still playing against people who have like years on you, etc.
Experience is a bitch, yeah.
You could go into a newer game. You can start new with everybody, right? I mean, like that's one reason I was like, oh, Doomsday. Like I enjoyed Doomsday because it's like you're starting on more of a lower playing field, right? You're not playing against a bunch of people who are 10 years in or something like that, who have so much kind of more knowledge or whatever. I mean, that's kind of the same with other games eventually. People are probably gonna be like, oh, well, this game's much easier for me to potentially have like, I don't know, just like be built into it. And I'll be able to get ahead of the curve, basically.
Yeah, or at least stay in that wave of the curve, like,
yeah, basically.
I think especially right now, if I look at it, one of the things that the new players are really lacking is that capability. I mean, think about it. The regions are only blocked for 30 days before they get invaded. So I mean, you really don't have much time to build up anything before.
It's sad too, because you think about it, like one of the best things about like that new player experience is being able to compete with your region, over mega cities, all these type of wars. Like you used to see such like even if it's just like little baby wars, it was so like fun to like kind of look over at them. Now it's like I feel like a lot of people already know what they're kind of in destined for, so people are already like recruiting like whales ahead of time, or they got tons of big accounts that are already planning to migrate, and then those big accounts are probably threatening other smaller alliances like, yo, if you fight us back, we're gonna absolutely crush you, whatever the case, right? And they basically ruin the potential new game experience or new player experience for people, and then there's less reason or incentive for them to do these like have fun earlier out, have these interesting fights over like Metro or something, especially when like even if I fight over Metro, somebody who's able to just crush my whole alliance with like one SWAT is going to come in next week and just take it back. So it's like,
see, and I think that brings up a question I've been mulling over myself, and I've asked Zed himself, or Z, if you call him that. You're an American. That's fine.
I'm surprised you call him Zed. Is that just like how you pronounce Z?
Yeah, because it's Zed. It's Zed. It's a Zed.
I've never heard people refer to Z as Zed, but hey, man,
I think it's first. I call it. It's a Zed to me. I'm sure it's wrong. I've said Zed every single time, but I think that's just because I'm Canadian. His name is probably Z, if anything, just cause. But you Americans are crazy with your pronunciations. But
I don't know who's gonna call us crazy. And like you're a little. You're the one calling him Zed, so
that's true. That's true. I'm the crazy one. It's fine. There's only 33 million of us compared to 335 million of you guys. So it's fine.
It's kind of like, well, you're crazy if I think you're crazy. You know what I mean?
It's true. That's true. But anyway, so I was talking to Z, and I've kind of asked him the same thing, and it's one of these things that I've been really curious on, is like how do we fix these balance issues, right? Because if the issue is that we have larger alliances or larger players that are basically invading newer regions or smaller alliances and this and that kind of stuff, like where do we add the limitation to create for balance? Because Z believes wholeheartedly that the immigration issue, at least from what I've talked to, is that it's not necessarily the immigration issue that's the problem, right? Like let people go where they want, and it's not like you can limit them from joining which alliances they want and joining which regions they want and kind of letting things be open. I'm kind of a believer of the opposite. I look at it and I say, well, if you don't limit people from going to newer regions, like they've locked them off for 30 days, but that's not enough time to develop. I mean, ideally you want a longer time. And yes, he agrees with the same, premise on that. But I guess my question is, how do we balance, that system of immigration to allow people to move where they want and play with their friends and things like that, versus still balancing the game for everybody else to make a better gaming experience.
So I mean, I was thinking of this one thing, and I know some people have actually mentioned it, since I had mentioned it, but you could think of like, and some people are going to say like, oh well, the president can monopolize or like basically make decisions that are not going to benefit the people of the region, like even if you're like trading off metro. But basically I was thinking like, even if it's and yeah, there's going to be downsides, but even if this is bad in some ways, I feel like it overall is going to be more of a positive impact on the game. So basically, I know I mentioned Rise of Kingdoms earlier, but there's this feature in Rise of Kingdoms where the president or the person who owns like Metro or whatever you want to call it, they have to accept the players who are migrating in. And they do also have like a limitation on how many players can come in. I don't care about that whole limitation thing.
Mm-hmm.
They try to make it like more balanced because it's KVK and stuff. So they want to make sure like you can't have like a mega region or mega kingdom that's like I guess like 10 billion higher than the others. It's like it's much more balanced in the game in fights, which I actually think is kind of cool.
Mm-hmm.
But basically, they have a limitation where the president has to accept like, okay, this person can migrate, this person can migrate, this person can migrate. I think that would have been kind of nice of an implementation, especially for like when you think about it. I mean, obviously there's some presidents who might abuse it and only let in people who are on their side or who are willing to fight with them or whatever. But you think of it like this: if you're able or capable of actually taking over Metro, or you're the team that won it, then ultimately it should be up to the president to be like, hey, this is how we should grow the region instead of a bunch of migrators coming in and like running it down. I mean, obviously, there's gonna be some tyrants who win a Metro over or something, but it's just how the game works, right?
Mm-hmm.
Like make it to where it's like it's you're able to still play competitively. Like especially if like teams want to gang up a one alliance. I mean, you had so many times where there's this like multiple teams who are upset with the president's like rulership and stuff, so they'll gang up on them. You could have had this early game where teams are like, hey, this team doesn't seem like they're fit to be in charge, so we'll have all these other teams jump them. Well, if you do that now, someone's just going to migrate in and smack all the small teams who just decided to kind of actually come up against these guys. So I don't know. I feel like you should have some sort of
Now,
president limitation.
Now, is that a limitation on the president allowing you to migrate, or is that a limitation on the ability to migrate in general? Because
President allowing it. So you basically would have to reach out and be like, hey, I want to come to this region. Or, like the alliances would be like, hey, we're recruiting these people or whatever the case, right? So basically you can't just have a bunch of rogue immigrators come in and just burn everything down or take over the region because they want a martial buff or
yeah,
whatever the case. You know
yeah,
what I mean?
yeah. Okay, that's an interesting way to look at it. I think one of the ways that I've been kind of digesting it myself, thinking about how it would make sense, is way more balanced towards the overall experience at the cost of, I think, pretty much everything else. I think one of the major things that they should have done, or they should address, is the immigration issue. The fact that immigration is free, pretty much, and there's really no negative cost to immigrating. Do you know what I mean? Like, sure, you lose out on resources, the resources that you have, but most people have a lot in their bag anyway, so that's not necessarily a problem.
I just don't care.
Right? They don't care. So I mean, and because immigration is so cheap and easy, it does mean that not only can you get your place invaded very easily, like you guys had with Save Me, but it means that like every region is not safe at any time. Do you know what I mean? Like at any time,
Yeah,
any of these whales can go anywhere and cause any amount of heck and problems and issues.
there's nothing that happens to them. The only restriction really is events, right? Like maybe between events where they don't want to waste their resources that might be getting from their players, right? That would be the only limitation. But it's funny you mentioned that, like Save Me, for example. I mean, he came to our region. I'm pretty sure he mentioned losing a ton of resources to go on Region 1. He didn't care because he's rich. He has it all in his bag.
Mm-hmm.
I even remember there's this one region he invaded, and they had actually talked to me about it. And basically what happened is he was lied to about like what happened, and he basically came in and just attacked these guys, and he figured out he was lied to, and he basically goes, well, I gotta have results. I used a bunch of resources to get here. Like you wasted resources because you were freaking impatient and couldn't like maybe reach out to the president alliance and been like, hey, what's going on, right? And even then, it's like, is it really your business how a region handles their own affairs? You know what I mean? Like it's just like it's not none of your business to jump in on. It was kind of stupid though, because this team had kicked out. I guess this alliance had migrated, right, and they were planning to sell off the alliance shell that they had in there in mid. And the president alliance was like, all right, we're just gonna burn this this thing out of mid because we don't want some random alliance here, especially because I don't even think they knew they was selling it, but they didn't want like it taking up a ton of room, and they were
Sure,
like, all right,
sure.
we'll take the slot, right? And they just basically lied about like how they were getting basically abused or something by like the ruling alliance. But it's like you guys migrated out to change regions. Like, how are you gonna try to save me to invade and take over this region? Because what?
Yeah.
Like,
And
it's such a stupid petty thing to
but
me.
here's the thing. If they had gone back to the situation, and I'm not saying that they have to make it, where it's super expensive to move. I
Yeah,
don't care
but
about the
like,
actual money involved, but like limit the actual thing. Say that you can only migrate once every 30 days or something. Say that you can only migrate, you can only join, like, the fact that we have multi-regional alliances doesn't make any sense to me. The fact that you can join an alliance not in the same region as you doesn't make sense to me. You know, the you should be in the same region. You should
yeah,
be in that
I
same
can't agree
place.
on that. It was so stupid too, because when they released it, it was when they added very slight restrictions on migration again, and then they released it as if to say, "Hey, well, we listen to your concerns, so now we're also gonna add this," which just encouraged people to instead not going to regions to just steal top commander. Which I mean, they even changed the top commander format,
Yeah.
but they would go there because hey, now it doesn't matter because I can just join my main alliance. They would go there for maybe a week to steal top commander hero because they would have to return to, let's say, DHX, or they'd have to return to HMB, right? Whereas like now the like at least only then you would only get like one or two of your play ranks, just stolen every week or so, and people wouldn't have an incentive to just take over your region. Now
Exactly.
it's like, okay, well, now I can just invade regions, take over, just to have Marshall and freaking 100 of my players, which is just insane to me. But yeah, like
Yeah.
that was one of the worst additions. Like, it wasn't even the migration itself. Adding that was insane because people. There were some regions. I remember there was this region that got, I think, taken over because someone wanted to use it as a top commander region. But there were those, smaller cases, but it wasn't as like often. And honestly, migration, like the invasion thing, it did happen a lot when migration originally dropped, but it did slow down a lot after like maybe a month or so, right? Because it just kind of got boring, and a lot of people were just like, okay, whatever, like I'm not gonna just keep over. Like,
Hmm.
people obviously took over like newer regions just to like start over with their alliance, but it started slowing down and becoming less often, and now it's too often, and there's too many whales who want to do it because it benefits these mega whale alliances to just have an additional 5% attack or something. Just
Yeah. And
it's stupid to me.
well, it also does something that I think was fundamental to this game. Like, we've talked so much that the fundamentals to this game, although it's a war game and although it's got great mechanics, and although there's lots of context in regards to how you can actually play the game and enjoy the game, the truth is the benefits of this game is the community. And one of the things that I think that they've really lost sight of is this community aspect. And I'll give you a prime example. I was just talking to a friend of mine who spent 2 years, like almost a year and a half away from the game. So him and I used to be really good friends in the game. He left for like 14 months or something like that, and he came back. And previous to that, we were like, he left when we were like 50 million, 50 million power, and then he came back, and now I'm at like 130 million, and he's still at 67, and there's a huge difference in that, right? But
Yeah.
the experience, he come back and he says it's a whole different game to what it was. And so, my entire experience and my entire problem is that because they're changing things so quickly, and because there's so much additional, like we just talked about, there's so much additional clicking to do, so many additional things to do every day on every account, that there's no real focus on the alliance anymore. Think about it this way. When we had, when Top Commander was locked to your region, for example, yes, you had to deal with the possibility of whales coming into your region to try to steal your Top Commander rewards, but everything was based on your region. So you only ever had to fight the people that were in your region. You only ever had to compete with your own whales or your own spenders in your region. They opened that up to everybody. Well, now all of a sudden there's no focus on the regional support anymore. If you think about it, sorry, go ahead.
Oh, no, you can keep going if you want, real quick.
Yeah, I
I'll,
was just
I'll
going to say the next thing, if you look at Dark Seal for very quickly, the event that they took away, well, that entire goal of that event was to bring your region together. You had to work with the other alliances in your region in order to be successful during that event. Well, they took that away, and now the focus is no longer on the strength of the region. It's really just on the strength of your individual alliance. And the regions mean nothing now.
Yeah, I was actually gonna mention Dark Seal right before you said that because yeah, Dark Seal is super like, oh well, you want all your alliances able to, compete or whatever the case, and it just made like building your region much more essential, right? I mean,
Hmm.
like even Rise of Kingdoms is a good example. Like they do KVK, they don't do, like Island Raid or something, Kingdom versus Kingdom, whereas like they'll have a lot of like some kingdoms are built around one alliance, right? Or they'll have multiple alliances. It depends on like I guess what kingdoms you're in, right? But they'll do like one kingdom alliances, three kingdom alliances. Or sorry, three alliance kingdoms or something. Sorry, I like
Yeah, yeah.
said it backwards. But yeah, they basically like would build around that, and building a region or a successful team would be super essential. Whereas now it's like, why do I need these other alliances? Why do I need these other people in my region if I just wanted a free top commander, or not even top commander? It's just like now all I need is the buff. So like, why would I want these other people who could potentially threaten me and take my buff while I'm in like an event or something? And they'll just like kill every alliance in zone 3, take over the full zone, and you have no drawback at doing that. It's like,
Yeah, there's no negative to it anymore. There's no focus on building up that community. And because if you look at it, immigration is so cheap and easy. I mean, I look at it this way. Back when it was expensive, you were forced to get to work with the people that you were with. If you didn't want that, you had to spend a shit ton to get out. But because most people didn't have a shit ton to get out, they were forced to work with people that they might not have, so it basically forced this kind of cohesion and this kind of like community within your own region. And yes, don't get me wrong, there were lots of examples where you'd bump heads with another alliance within the region and you wouldn't get anywhere and there'd be nothing you could do about it. So I understand the validity of making immigration more accessible, but to make it free basically just says that like none of it matters now. Everything doesn't like there's nothing locked to the region. There's nothing locked to your individual. It's all based. You don't have to be in the same region. The TCs aren't locked to the region. The arena's not locked to the region. The region literally doesn't matter anymore. There's no purpose to even have them.
yeah. And I'll say, I mean, obviously there's like situations where, and you said it perfectly, like there are obviously, circumstances where you might need a migrate or want to migrate because, there's a tyrannical president or whatever the case, right?
Sure.
And it'd be nice to have migration more accessible, but obviously, it's just like even like leeches, right? You're more likely to get leeches, especially in like these top alliances, because people are in like they have it's more accessible. It's much easier to kind of get in. I mean, like even before there were tons of leeches, to be fair, just kind of only were there for chess, etc. But people
Yeah.
were kind of more inclined to kind of pull their weight. Whereas like now it's like, okay, well I can join this team, and if I don't pull my weight for a month, they'll kick me, and I can just go find another region. It's easy as that. It only cost me $1, right? But before, you kind of just had to, if you wanted to go there, you had to make sure you actually hit your requirements. You actually pulled your weight, even if you are a leech. At least you're there and like doing your part, and you're kind of incentivized to do that, or you're forced into another alliance, which
And
doesn't
hey,
really pay as much as you'd like or anything.
correct me if I'm wrong. Didn't they give immigration visas during Dark Seal?
They, I believe so, but I know for yeah, they did, and they gave it during Island Raid. They give you like one during Island Raid for like
Yeah.
your kill something, and then Dark Seal they also gave you one, I believe, if you like. I forget what it was, but it probably was also a kill requirement or
Yeah,
something.
I
But
mean,
yeah,
you
they
had to
they would give.
get like a certain, 40 million points or something stupid.
Yeah,
But still, they still gave. So I mean, like even in that situation, having the opportunities for free immigration, totally fine. But now that
and
we have, you know,
to be fair, it is still technically free if you like meet an alliance that really wants you, and you're like, well, I'm free to play or something, right? And they can just give you $1 from the vault, which I
hmm
actually think that's like that is one of the single best features they've had in this game, dude. The
dude,
gold vault. Oh,
the moment the vault landed, I literally peed just a little bit. You know what I mean? Like it was just a little bit. It was such a. They didn't need to do that. And this is one of those situations where I can't even fault them for this because this is a situation they did not need to do at all.
yeah, that was single handedly like it might be the best update they've ever dropped. Like
Uh huh.
honestly, that was goated because like even auto gathers or something. Like one thing that we did was we were getting like our main fighters or our main like bigger players, kind of the auto gathers, so we could more accessibly fight and like have our guys kind of able to just do whatever they needed. Whereas like before, I mean, obviously auto gather wasn't a thing before that, but you really think about it, like that's one of those features where it's like also, you're not required to get it. It's not, it's gonna still give you a little bit of competitive edge if you have more resources. But honestly, I didn't have an issue with them releasing those paid survivors. I think like
Nope.
some people were upset, but it was like it's one of those like quality of life type things that
Hmm.
I have no qualms with. But you know, it's nice because I can just get it for my main fighters if we have enough gold in the vault. You know, I mean even
Well,
Z. Oh wait,
no, no,
you want to go?
go ahead. You can say something.
I don't. I think I've talked to Z, and he mentioned how what they do is they, you know, like their top, you know, like you probably know this. They have like some really good rally captains, really good garrison captains. But I'm pretty sure for like top commander and stuff, they have like one guy's like let's say a range main, right? They'll prioritize that guy in top commander, give him some gold so he can, you know, maybe max out the super weapon or whatever, and you know maybe get first in every top commander or whatever. And they basically are able to make sure all their top fighters are as good as they possibly can be and as healthy as they possibly can be
Hmm.
during every event without having to like, you know, dig completely into their wallet, which I think is like really great.
I
And
think,
it just makes it easier.
yeah, yeah, and I think, you know, speaking about the gold vault, I think not only was it one of the best additions that they've ever made, I also think it was one of the worst because not only does it provide such a great potential for the people who use it properly. Unfortunately, the flip side to that is exactly what we see happen with ANCS and Safe Me
I mean,
going to invade the region.
oh, A candy. Yeah, but yeah, I know exactly what you're talking about. That's yeah, it's just like people are gonna abuse it, you know. It's just it is how it is,
So it's
unfortunately.
you know, it's one of those
Everything.
and unfortunately even you know, like I was talking about in GROP, we had a problem with gold because we had a player that was asking for gold from the vault for free. We said no because we don't just fund people for free from the vault. We've got a specific, you know, distribution schedule for how we do things. Just because they wouldn't get their own free gold, they ended up firebombing the entire alliance. And so when you have this, you know, kind of potential that people see the vault and they see how much is sitting there and they go, I want that. You know what I mean? So that greed
Yeah.
element is there. And I think that's the only problem is that humans are, we're greedy. We're greedy. You know, as much as we
Yeah,
don't want to be, we're greedy.
I know there was like discussion about like, oh, how should gold be distributed properly? And honestly, I don't think there's any correct way. I
Nope.
think the only like correct way would be the leader saying, "Hey, this is how we're going to distribute it," and the alliance agreeing with that, right? And if you don't agree with that, find a better leader. You know what I mean? Like at the end of the day, it's up to you to support these guys and put them in the position that they can abuse your gold or abuse, you know,
That's
whatever the
true.
case.
Yep.
I find it like I find it such a stupid argument when people are like, "Well, this player did this." Well, like don't play with them if you really have an issue with how they distribute or they handle things, right? If it's like open and people are like, okay, well, you know, if nobody has qualms with it and you're not openly saying, hey, I got an issue with how you're distributing it, then I don't think you really have a point to complain. And if you don't agree with how another alliance distributes it, it's not your problem. You know what I mean? Like it's
Mm-hmm.
up to that alliance to be under him and spend their money and allow him to constantly take their money and spend however he wants or what they want.
Yeah, exactly. Whatever's going to be best for their alliance. Speaking of which, you said you do a lot with your gold vault to like help individual people get like the specific
So
things that they're looking for, right? How do you guys do
yeah,
it?
so what we do is ours is different. What we do is we get I make it to where everybody has to message me if they want the monthly subscription. This is just like a minimum, right? And you know, our alliance is very strict on fighting. So we were willing to get anybody it, but we did have some people who were dead weight before, and if they really didn't pull their weight, you know, this was before we kicked them. I just wouldn't give them the like subscription because it's like that's a 5%, you know, like return rate that you're going to get. So it's like very useful for people who are going to be filling towers, filling rallies and stuff. It also incentivizes people, hey, I have a better return rate, so why not, you know, fill these rallies, fill these towers? It's also, you know, that. And you also get other benefits like, you know, getting vouchers, the little like things to kill zombies with or whatever. So it's just, you know, a small little thing. And then with the additional gold, it's really like dependent right now, for example, we've kind of slowed down on it, but we have gotten multiple players. The three auto gathers. I didn't go for the full five because it's more expensive, like much
Yeah,
more expensive.
I'll
But
just
I
get
think it
three
costs you
things.
around like 120, $130 to get the three auto gathers. So it's like pretty effective, and we get that for like we've gotten that for multiple like main fighters, like you know Mecha, so on and so forth.
Sure, sure.
And we basically just send them gold until they can afford it, like a series. You know, like basically all our main fighters, so they're able to just kind of get additional resources on top of like you know the fillers that we have, which you know they do get a lot of resources, but there's only so much we can provide to every fighter. So it's always good to make sure that they can get their own resources. And if they need additional
Hmm.
resources, we can be like, hey, message me. I actually sent out a mail, and I was like, all right, like, because we load up Big D with 200 million resources every day. I'm like, hey, we get all these resources. You guys message me if you really need other resources. We'll determine if you actually deserve those resources based on how you fight, and if you're not fighting like an absolute monster, like an egomaniac. But yeah, we basically just try to like distribute that and
Hmm.
however I see fit. Be honest, like some people might disagree with that watching this, but it's like my alliance has no issue with it. So if they don't mind how I distribute the gold, that's fine. I mean, I even had a player who would message me, and he would actually ask for his gold back when he did spin. So I just sent him his gold. Like if you really want your gold back, you can message me about it. But ultimately, most people don't have qualms, or they won't like ask me to specifically send it back to them. Because they
That's
don't
really
mind you going to
interesting.
gold.
It's interesting you mentioned that asking for gold back, and this is the reason I also mentioned that I think the vault was probably one of the worst additions, only because it gave people also like this ego about things as well. So like recruiting, for example, right? When we went through a down stint, and I'll give you a little bit of a precursor. Our entire um, uh, goal in GROP when it comes to our gold vault is to support the players who are participating during events, right? So we set a ratio goal. We want every player that's in the events that we play IR and AR. During the events that we focus on, we want you to get a ratio of 1-to-1 of might to points. So if you've got 200 million might, I want you scoring at least 200 million points. If you've only got 50 million might, you're only on the hook for 50 million points, right? So we want you to get as close to that ratio as possible. And the reason why we say that ratio is that it's not necessarily based on, like I'm not expecting the 30 million, 40 million, 50 million players to achieve 100 million points,
Yeah, I get it.
right? Because that's unachievable for them. But a player who's 60 million, for example, who still achieves 40 million points is still in the same playing field as someone who has 100 million who only scores 80 million points. You see, they're still within that same playing field.
Yeah.
So our gold typically goes to the people, and of course it depends on the event. If we don't have as like in our last AR, for example, I'm not sure if you watched, but it was really kind of one sided. We didn't really have as much confrontation as we wanted. And I blame the matchmaking again. In the situation we had HMB Fedo was in the original or is in one of the alliances in our Legion, and he's like 345 million might or something like that. So it was really off balance. And then Crimson didn't want to fight because as soon as he's in the battle, they just assume that there's nothing they can do. So we didn't really get any much back and forth. So during an event like that, it's not necessarily based on a 1-to-1 ratio anymore because there's not very many opportunities to fight, right? We went and fought as much as we could, but if Crimson doesn't build into you, right? If they don't bring their troops, what do you do?
Yeah, that's why I actually like how we run things. We don't do the whole gold based off how much you fight. We have sometimes not really how much you fight, but like if people provided enough resources, right? Because we
Oh
do
yeah,
recognize
yeah,
like
that
if,
works too.
if we didn't get the resources, we wouldn't be able to fight. So some people would send like tons of resources, and I used to give them gold for that. I don't do that as much anymore because it's not really as much of a necessary. I will say your alliance is a little bit lower scale, so it might be more of a necessity for you to give out gold to encourage fighting.
Yep.
But in our case, for example, we just kick you if you don't meet your requirements, and we don't actually have direct requirements. I mean, I think we do have some on our board, but we don't actually look at that. Now we we've gotten to the point where we only need players who are, I wouldn't say hyperactive, but they're the point where they take this like these fights super seriously. Like we're not like forcing you to like play it like esports, but we want you to like play on it. Like if you're joining us, you're kind of competitive. You want to fight to get like really good fights, really good kills, whatever the case, right? So we just look at you in general and we're like, hey, does this player play smart? Are these guys getting really good kills? And to be fair, me and Mecca are pretty active, so we're able to kind of check out like if this person is like fighting smart, doing their job, pulling their weight, not just getting all their points from like 1v1s or something, for example.
Mm-hmm.
And if people just are pulling their weight, doing their part, doing their job, and obviously it is event based, like you said. We've had cases where like our fights are super big, so we need people to pull more of their weight. We need them to get more points, or we get cases where it's a pushover, and we'll be like, all right, it doesn't matter how many points you got. We're not going to kick you since we know you guys all have been here and understand how we run things. So
Mm-hmm.
like, like if you get like 10 million points in a really slow event is like you probably just we're kind of zoned out. Like, yeah, this is boring. I'm not gonna log in. I'm not gonna
Sure.
log in today. But yeah, like we just kick you if you don't meet your requirements because this is a super competitive alliance. You know what you got
Well,
into by joining us,
well,
so
I
we don't
think
need
I
to,
think the big difference there, and I think you did mention it very kind of nicely, giving me a slap in the face. But
Sorry.
no, 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 it was perfect. It was perfect because it's true. It's true. We do play in a lower bracket, and I find it kind of funny because the experience that we bring from both sides is kind of that exact same type of idea. Like I fight in Fearless. I'm proud to be in Fearless. We drop weight to probably 4 billion by our 4 billion is kind of our registration weight, which gives us kind of on the top end of Fearless. So again, we're still getting into that same ideology of what we're coming into. But a lot of that also comes down, I think, in the foundation. I mean, Prim is fundamentally, I mean, they've been around a lot longer than GROP. They've been, they have had the chance to kind of like set in their foundation a lot better. Like
Yeah,
you said, now that you have, guys like Big Daddy and stuff like that, like you've been able to kind of
bro.
formulate
Yeah.
Crow and like a lot of those other places, you've been able to like formulate out a lot more of your strategy. Well, that's just kind of where we're getting to, right? We're just getting into that now of being able to develop that, that structure. We picked up Rice, for example, that's joined us now. We've got Fathers with us now, so he's been kind of quintessential for our growth patterns. We've got a couple of new players. Chad just joined us. Chad the Spire just joined us from. I can't remember exactly what. So we've had a couple of big 200 mil players that we've just picked up recently. So things are kind of just in that rebuilding phase, whereas you guys are more in that like we're set more. We have more freedom to kind of like let
Yeah,
people make
because
their mistakes.
if people don't pull their weight, it's like you're extremely replaceable. I mean, I'm sure like obviously if you're in a smaller alliance, it's much harder to replace people because you got much fewer options. But we got people probably coming to our door every single day, like asking to join, and it's like you don't meet our requirements. I'm sorry, but if they do meet our requirements, we always got people that we got ready to be on the chopping block if they really aren't pulling their weight or they
Mm-hmm.
like because like there's always somebody at the door. There's always someone who's more willing than you to start pulling their weight or start fighting more. And some people might call it pretty cutthroat, but it's like it's up to the alliance to how they want to run things. And you're joining the alliance with that understanding. Like, don't join us if you don't want to fight. If you're going to just sit back and watch everybody else fight, because then you're hurting us in our matchmaking. Then you're making us get a harder bracket that we didn't need to get because you weren't there. You know what I mean? Like, it's
Yeah.
just, I don't know. And like, I think your alliance has probably actually gotten to a pretty good point. But like, just in general, like we probably do have more options, right? Like we
Oh, for
we
sure
probably
you
do have
do.
more
Yep.
people knocking on the door.
Yep.
So we're able to kind of just play more flexibly, and we're not required, or we're not in a position where we need to be like, hey, if you fight, you get gold. No, if you fight, you don't get kicked.
Yeah. Yeah.
Like,
So,
basically.
which is a lot, but I think a lot of it also comes down to the ideology of the alliance, right? Like, it's not that we give gold to fighters; we give gold to those who like. It's I may have been a little unclear. It's not necessarily just based on the ratio, but that's one of the metrics. So, just like you mentioned, in some in some pushover ones where points aren't necessarily nearly as as sought after because the win is guaranteed. We're not going to necessarily put as much rush there either. A lot more of that focuses on maybe how active you were in regards to calling out where the enemies were, right? That kind of stuff. Just how active you are just in the game overall is also a major metric to what we use. But you're right. You guys definitely have more of a capability to be a bit more cutthroat. But I will admit it was because of the conversation that we had when I first had you on the Who TF for You podcast,
Yeah.
where I started to really understand that yes, this is a game and yes, it's a hobby, but you know what? It's really what else you make of it. And I want it to be competitive and I want it to be enjoyable and I want it to be, I want to feel anxiety when I'm playing the game because that really shows me that I give a shit, that I'm playing, that I'm having fun, that
Yeah.
I'm engaged.
Yeah, I mean, everybody plays it differently, right?
Yep.
Like, there's people who are more casual, and that's fine, right? But like, we're obviously not on the more casual end. It's like there's gonna be teams that are more casual and don't care as much about winning, or aren't trying to push their limits. Like obviously, like you said, it's a game, it's a hobby. But like I like to go into games, and like you said, feeling anxious, right?
Mm-hmm.
Having these fights that are extremely intense,
Mm-hmm.
drawn out, that are forcing you to kind of push your limits in the game. It's just exciting for me. It gets my adrenaline rushing. Like those
Exactly.
exhausting fights are the best fights. Like you're obviously tired and like, bro, I want to go to sleep, but you're like, at the end of the fight, you're like, dang, I'm gonna remember that for a few months. Or I'm gonna remember that for
You
the
know?
next year because that was a good freaking fight. But it's just like one of those things where it's like, where are your priorities at? Like you just
Yeah.
have different kind of things you want to focus on.
And
So
and that's entirely okay. Like I've mentioned before, the biggest thing about this game is figuring out not only what alliance fits your playstyle, but what alliance fits your pocketbook. Do you know what I mean? Like we mentioned
yeah,
in Apex, it's expensive to play in Apex. You can't be successful in Apex and not be some kind of a spending player. I don't think I've met one free-to-play player that does well in Apex. And if they are, there's like one or two of them. It's an expensive place to play.
yeah, I mean, all they're doing is probably filling rallies at that point.
Yeah, but
Like,
but even
and you're
even
and you're
then,
dead in comparison and stuff. I
Yeah.
mean, and the thing about Apex is, I this is one thing I didn't. I kind of feel in the past, I had more like capability of being on the field, etc. Obviously there's way more features and stuff where like if you're I started getting to the point where if I was in the field, I was a free money bag, or not money bag, but like I was a free meal, right, for all the whales.
Mm-hmm.
Whereas like at this point, it's like, are you just in Apex to be a tower filler or Garrison filler, or sorry, rally filler or whatever? And it's like, is that fun to you? I mean, and there's tons of alliances that even go into Apex, and I never understand these teams. They register in Apex. These are the smaller teams, and they just sit out every single time just to get merit chests. And I'm kind of like, why are you even playing in Apex? Like, I get it if you want to grow your account, but it's like, is it worth growing your account at the expense of everybody's experience? Right? I never
Well,
understood that.
especially since how
And
many
it
merit
just seems like
chests do you
fun.
get?
Even in Elite, for me, I don't know. Like, you maybe get like, well, thing about red merit chests is you get device fragments,
Yeah,
right?
yeah, but I'm saying
Like you,
how many merit
like,
chests does the alliance get?
I think it depends on like where you rank. So like if you rank maybe in like, if you make it to the last ring, for example, in Apex, you could get, I don't know, if you're in a losing team, I think it's like you get a few of them. So maybe you'll get like 8 or something, I just imagine, right? But like even in Elite, if we're on the winning side, right? If we win in the last ring, or even if we lose, if you're on the first or second, you can get 3 red merit chests, right?
Yeah.
If you're on the losing two, you get 2, right? Which obviously isn't as much, but it's like you're at least having a more enjoyable experience. You can fight more with your team. You're having more of a like actual like sway in how things go,
But
and
here's
you're
my
actually
point.
able to fight.
Here's my
What?
point. Here's my point. They're doing that in Apex, right? So they're
Mhm.
registering in Apex and then sitting out and losing Apex. So how many merit chests do you get if you lose? Like
If
3?
you're just in like ring one, I imagine you probably get more than people get in the last ring in Elite. But it's like at the end of the day, it's like
But
you're
that's
sacrificing your experience.
for
You know what I
what?
mean?
3 players? For literally
Yeah,
3 players,
yeah,
4 players on your team?
yeah. And it's like, what's the point of growing if you're not fighting, right?
No
Like you're
shit. No
playing this game to
shit.
fight and have fun. Like you're going into Apex, you can sit out and grow your account. It's like, what is the
Look,
point of growing your account if you're not actually doing anything with it?
look, if you want to farm in Fearless. That's fine. That's no one's going to fault you for that. But don't farm in Apex. That's so stupid.
Yeah, I don't know, man. Like I even look at it, and I can't ever understand it because I can get like, okay, well, you're very limited compared to a team like HMB or ROK or something, right? But I'll literally see one person sitting on a whale's helipad or something, or a team that's like pretty well built, right? Like they at least have like a whale or two. They have a ton of T6 players. Like I get it's a whale, but you're in Apex, you're a freaking like 10 billion plus team probably, and you can't swarm one guy out. Like y'all can at least get easy kills, easy milking, fighting a little bit in the beginning, or fighting like these ego warriors who are just running here. I never get that. I never think like I'll just see one guy camping out their towers and everybody you got like a 40 people on helipad, just all right, time to go gather our resource nodes.
Time to just farm the alliance. Like, what are you
Like bro,
doing?
you can at least dump the one guy. You know what I
Look,
mean? Like milk him for a little bit of kills, fill your hospital or something.
here's
I never get sitting those out
it.
completely. Like
Listen, it's the
absolutely.
biggest qualm I have with players in this game who get connected to their troop counts. All right, like
Mm.
I understand. Look, I understand the need to want to make a lot of troops. I get it. I don't even have a million infantry yet. I'm having a problem cresting chameleon because every time I get close to it, then I get into a lot of fights and I burn them all. Do you see what I'm saying? So like, there there is a certain strategy, and I
At least,
understand,
yeah, at least utilize those troops too.
right?
Like if you're gonna build them, they're there for a reason, not to
That's
just
my point. If you're gonna build them, fucking fight them.
right. Literally, bro. I'm more. I've got more. what's it called? I smile more at my death count than my troop count. That's all I'm gonna say. Like,
Yeah,
oh, I
yeah,
got this many deaths because I fight like a warrior. Not, oh, I got this many troops because I farm like a farmer. Like,
yeah. And you know what?
like
I
no,
don't know how
bro,
many people I've talked to. I don't know how many people I've talked to as well. Um, just give me 1 second here.
you're good.
I don't know how many people I've talked to as well who have like a million cars. Like, why do you have a million cars? What the fuck
I
are you ever
never,
gonna have a
I
million
never
cars for?
understand. I never understand rich people doing that. I get like maybe it's just the satisfaction, but it's like they'll probably have like 10 cars sitting in like a massive garage that they'll never use in their life. They're like, "Whoa, look how cool that looks. I can post a picture on Instagram." Like
I can pick which
that's
car I
that's like
want.
a
Look, I
that's
get
like a
it.
5 million. That's like a 5-10 million dollar Instagram picture, huh? You know what I mean? Like, cause you got all these cars just sitting there to just drive like a freaking just one of them, and
No,
you
I'm
probably
talking.
never really.
I'm talking about people in the damn game who have a million cars. Like they've got rangers, they've got infantry, they've got rider, and then a million fucking
Oh,
engines.
I thought you were talking about cars in general,
No,
like
I'm
in real
talking
life.
about
I was
in
gonna
the
say,
game, like fucking
I thought you were just drifting off. I was with you there, but
no.
but
It's true
but yeah,
too.
cars,
Hey, no, for cars for no, but for
engines,
real, like players with engines, with cars. You know what I mean?
engines. Yeah, I freaking I sit on them, but I'll find fights where like we'll do tower fights, right, to just kill them off because it's like might as well, get kills off of that. For me, I don't mind training them. I get some people don't train them at all, but I don't mind training them. I'm gonna find a team that's probably willing to tower fight with me so I can kill them off. For example, in our last AR, this is normally how we're preferred to do things. Not a tower fight, but they did it over the Sanctum. They just kept rallying it, so you're getting full deads. At least you're getting some kills off of those useless units that you don't have to waste a bunch of speed ups on. I mean, you're obviously using resources, but you're getting good kills off them. You know what I mean? Like it's just like
Mm-hmm.
might as well, right? And you're getting returns
Sure,
off them, so you're able to kind of
but how many
reflesh them
cars do you
out.
have?
I probably have like 400K.
That's what I'm saying. Like that's a much more digestible number, right? I keep 250,000 at most, right? 250 enough for one full march is good enough for me. Okay.
I probably could have dropped 100K, but I was freaking tired because we fought for days straight last night.
This is my point. I don't know how many people I've come across in the last 6 months who literally have like a million cars, a million engines, 2 million engines. And I'm like, do you realize how much inflated might that's giving you? Like, this is something
Like
that
what is
most people don't understand. This game doesn't, like, everybody wants to have a high might, but they don't understand the responsibility of what that brings.
You know what was funny to me when they didn't even nerf the beast, but they nerfed the might on the beast, and I was happy about it. I was like, let's freaking go! I can drop some might because I don't want to be too big. I don't mind being like a little bit stacked, but it's nice to drop some might because I don't need all this might. It's kind of pointless if you're not utilizing it in some
Utilizing it,
sort of
right.
way. But so many people were like absolutely pissed. They were like, I just lost a million might, or I just lost 400, like I just lost all this might. Like, bro, I'd be celebrating though. I guess when you're smaller, you're kind of like focused on getting to that like 100 mil or something like that. But it's
That's
like,
true. We
bro,
set these goals on
from
ourselves.
my,
But I think the difference is we also set these goals without actually understanding what we're doing, right? And it's only as we learn the game that we realize that managing your might is just as important as everything else. Like, I'll give you a prime example. I'm only 130 million, right? Like, I'm only 130, not anything to be right home to mom about. But I can still dance with 180 million players because they don't know how to manage their might properly. Do you know what I mean? Like I can still garrison against these 190 mil players because they're sitting on 4 million troops that don't do anything. Do you know what I mean? Like there's
yeah. I like having what's it called? I'm comfortable around 200 mil might because basically I have enough for all my 5 marches, right? And then I have enough if I want to like go swarming or I'm even filling, right? It makes me more capable of doing filigree because at my size, you wouldn't feel as much as maybe someone who's smaller because the roles are just different. But like
right.
I've kind of gotten to the point where like I was doing it last AR, like I was able to kill off 100K like permanently 200K range, right? And I was able to just be like, okay, well that did hurt me. I might be back a little bit, but I'm capable. Like I'm fine being down 3 million might or whatever the case, right? Because I have enough troops to expend, and that just makes it like it just makes you more comfortable, like more
Mm-hmm.
flexible, and you're able to just placate believe. But like, for example, I don't even get why like I don't get people like even Safe Me, who's at 1 billion. I mean, I guess he does it because he just likes to look at 1 billion because I think he retrains every time he drops under. I'm not even trying to
Yeah.
like
No,
bug
it's
at him,
true.
but like
I
it is
would
kind of
love to
funny.
be 1 billion myself, okay? I would love to
But
feel the
like
big dick
the
energy.
guy only loses like maximum in an event like 100 to 200 mil, right? And I get it. It is hard to kill off so and so much might in one event, like even with all that like all those troops. But it's like, what is the point of having so much might? I mean, obviously, when they're playing in the top of any Warzone or in Apex every time, I guess his might doesn't really matter that much because no matter what, they're gonna fight against mega monsters. But
Sure.
the point is, it's like, what is the point of having 1 billion might if you're not capable or willing to expend a good amount of troops, right? Like,
Yeah.
I think Big D, I think he loses, I don't know, like maybe like 1 million, 2 million troops every event, and he's able to just kind of retrain that, and it's just enough to
Jesus
swarm towers and
Christ.
all that. You know what I mean? But
That's
it's
but
like
here
it's
that
like
becomes my point. So if you look
having
at
that, right?
Apex, for example, the amount of money that it costs to play in Apex to replace those troops is, I mean, it's not within my pocketbook. I'm not playing there. I'm happy to play in Fearless.
Yeah, no joke. It's insane. I mean, like you got so many people who are like 500 mil plus or whatever, and they're only willing to lose like 10 million might have event. I'm
Oh,
like, bro,
it's like you don't even
what is the
understand. Like,
point?
no shit, you don't even understand the premise of the game.
Oh
Get your
my
troops out
god.
there, bang and brawl, bitch.
I think as a whale, I would be happy maybe around 300, right? Because I could lose like a good amount. I could lose a good amount every event and still have enough to field fight. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like storming towers, etc. But like at some point, it's like, why are you 400 million? Why are you 500 million? Probably just because they like to be big. But it's like, and to be fair, in Apex, it is a little bit more essential, especially if you're like the type to random port around and take rallies or take swarms or whatever. Because
Well,
if you're 300 mil, you can get swarmed to zero in Apex, bro. They do
that
not care.
that's the
They'll
other.
eat you alive.
I mean, that's the other difference. I mean, you actually have to get to be that big just to be defensive on your own set. Like, I mean, I can garrison pretty well a tower or a building or things like that. I can garrison those pretty well. But if I'm garrisoning at home because it's mixed troops and I have less, it's not nearly as impactful. So I was burned in the last GW, and trust me, I'm still feeling it. You know what I mean? So like the benefit of
It's not
having a
hurting you,
billion
but
troops is that you never get burned at home.
no joke. I'm pretty sure. I'm like, I'm not joking. I've seen like at least two events where I think Safe Me was actually offline. I don't know if anybody has his logins, but I swear the guy would literally. I remember one AR. I saw this guy sit in one spot for at least like 3 hours while his team is getting smashed. So it's pretty likely that his team's actually getting zeroed. Nobody rallied his base. Nobody would touch his base. No, like I mean that he was on online. Sorry, I said team getting zero, but yeah, I wasn't online. Nobody would touch his base because I mean, even if you could zero the guy, it's like, is it worth it? Plus, this guy literally just retrains to stay over 1 billion. Like he's probably got the money to get back
Mhm.
to 1 billion, even if you dropped him like 200 million in an event, right? Like he probably would like the kills and the fact that he got zeroed. Like it's like you punching somebody who's like a masochist, right? They're like, oh,
hit
thank you, like,
hit
oh,
me
bring it
harder.
on.
I fucking love it.
Literally, bro. Like that dude would probably freaking nut when he got online. Like, oh, I got zeroed finally. Like,
Finally,
who's got a
somebody
video of
did
it?
that. No shit. Finally, someone brought me to the edge.
Somebody was willing to rally me. Oh my gosh. Like he's got no concept of like fear at getting zeroed because nobody's gonna do it.
No, I mean, like I said, at 65, whatever, 65, 70 million troops that the guy's got or something stupid. I mean, you can't rally that. You can't even add enough troops to like what
in,
the
in
fuck?
in Apex, there's gonna be someone who can rally it, but it just be super hard. I mean, like you've seen people like Hands, right? I think he like had maybe like 30 million getting rallied, and they burn him, right? But it's like it's painful. But the longer the rally goes on, obviously, like the better your trades are getting. But it's also like a gamble because if the guy is online, you're gonna get absolutely smashed in those first like minutes
Yeah.
of like hitting the base, and the guy's probably like licking his lips like a freaking absolute like he's just loving. He's like,
Just
he's
enjoying it like
rallying
a
me.
monster.
Yeah, and then he heals like in the middle of the rally with a freaking $10 pack, and you're like, God damn it. That's like what that would be the worst, bro. Imagine you finally fill his hospital, and he's like, click, and
Click,
he's in
done.
400k more, and he kills
No.
like 3 million troops for your 400k. That's just mental.
Oh man, but here, this is what we always talk about when it comes to like characters or heroes or who's better and this and that, because it's all at the very, very top echelons of the game when literally 0.5% of attack or defense literally matters. You know what I mean? Like, that's where
Bro,
that shit
honestly,
matters.
the thing is, I think a lot of it, honestly, isn't even just like, because when you get to the really top of the game, people are like, oh, this player's stronger, hands are stronger, save me stronger. It's like, really, when you think about it, it's just play style at that point. It's
Mhm.
it's like, what combos are you using? Are you even smart enough to hit the right hero fast enough? Whatever the case, right? And it's just like,
Even
I don't know, like,
listen, something even as simple as positioning on the map to avoid damage.
yeah,
You know, like people don't think about, you know, like if you're fighting with someone in the field, for example, and you're not the main target and you're fighting against someone like Miyamoto who has AoE damage, you can avoid that by attacking from behind the target. You know what I mean? Like there's, if you're not smart
yeah.
enough to understand those simple things.
Talking about positioning, you remind me of like these guys who will like have the one march and they'll be attacking you, right? While you're fighting like someone 5v5, and if you target them, they freaking run away right away, and you're like, bro, like what am I supposed to do? Because you just like you're letting the guy eat you alive, but if you target him, you're wasting like seconds of marching
Yeah.
towards
Yeah.
some of your marches, right?
Yeah.
And you're trying to rage drop him or something. And it's like, bro, he's letting the other guy eat you alive. Like it's so
That,
annoying when you fight players like that. I swear, but
yeah,
they're
man.
smart. They're smart. They'll
I'm
bounce their
telling
node
you,
and like.
you
And
know,
they're making the other guy's trades like 3 times better as a result, and it's like, bro,
the,
you man.
there is so much strategy that's available to this game, and this is why I think IGG is really missing out on the fact that they have so much weighted to spending on it. If it wasn't so much weighted to needing to spend, like their balance already is pretty well there in regards to the halves. Like they really just have a situation where, as it stands now, it's mostly heavily weighed to spending a lot to be able to do that. But there's a ton of balance and capabilities to make it balanced within strategy that I think they should focus more on.
Yeah, do you know the team UC? It's a Russian team.
Oh
They
yeah, yeah.
play in a league. Bro, I've had them on my team once, and I had them as an ally once. I've never fought them, but I would hate to fight these guys because they literally sit in calls and they'll have like 10 guys running around with them, Miyamoto or something, all around the map, and they'll jump you in groups. And it's like, when you really think about it, not only are you fighting these like 10 marches, but you're fighting guys who all have their best march on the field, meaning like you're literally fighting everybody's best hero. So like it's like fighting two guys who just have an average of like, let's say, a 4 million might hero. This team has to be one of the most annoying groups I've ever seen, because like even if you actually fight them, they can literally just jump you, like jump through nodes and just run away and keep dragging your marches. It's like, bro, it's like, I don't even know how to explain it. It's just taking bites out of people's butts, and you're just having
Mm-hmm.
them running around in circles. It's like one of the most annoying teams I'd ever have to fight. And even during actual field combat, we had them as our ally. And I remember there was like guys who would run around and they would just drag full marches around in actual freaking murder balls because people were trying to chase them down. It's like they're literally disrupting how the enemy's able to like actually interact with the like murder ball because they're just bugging you. And
Yeah.
it's kind of beautiful to see. Yeah, but
In
beautiful to
my
see it
last
work.
AR, we had a character named Uncle Potato. I don't know if you've ever heard the name Uncle Potato, but
I've never heard of it.
this guy was a farm killer extraordinaire. Like I give the guy as much credit as I give to farm killers, right? They're already scum. I don't like them. They do it because it's easy points, and I give them credit for that. But
I've done
this
it a few times. Just I can't stay on all day doing it.
That's right. But this guy manages like top two, I think, top one or two in War Meets War. And 90% of it he spends node knocking, picking up stragglers. Like we meet everybody at
Right.
chainsaws, for example, and
People
he'd
want to
bite the,
scavengers. Yeah.
beating everybody in the back end and, fighting
I've
all the
fought.
stragglers. You fucking ass, But
Yeah, I've had people like multiple players in a single event that would get like hundreds of millions of points just eating up stragglers. I'm like, bro, I don't want to spend my event having to freaking protect these guys in the back lines. Just so these
oh,
guys aren't eating up like the same amount of kills that our
yeah,
monsters are able to get
yeah.
freaking whale fighting. Like, bro,
Just fucking pulling out the just hitting scraps. I'm like, you
you
bastard,
really think
stop
about
it.
it. You really think about it. They are helping though massively because you're
Yeah.
you're killing off fillers. You're killing off people who are able to actually field fight. And the actual thing is like, bro,
It's
like it's annoying, but you got to give it to them. Like
yeah.
freaking pat on the back, you buddy.
That's the
You
thing. I mean,
just
you
keep it.
managed to get that many kill points in War Meets War. I mean, you're grinding your ass off. I give you credit,
I could
and
not.
a
I could
shout
not
out.
spend hours though. I could not spend hours jumping around nodes all day. Like I've done it before, but it was maybe for like an hour at most. And I was like, oh, it's so fun, like having people drag around you. And this was when armaments were newer, so I had like speed hones too. So I was like impossible to catch.
That's right.
But after the fact, like later in the game, I already know there's gonna be people faster than me. I don't even try it anymore because I know I'm just gonna get like eaten by these freaking speed demons
No
who are
shit.
just
I'm
like
just
so
slow
built for
now.
that life. Yeah, I'm like they're built for like literally node knocking as a living. I'm like, yeah, I'm gonna stay home. I'm gonna stay home. I ain't gonna do all that.
Yeah, I'm gonna keep my shit. I'm gonna farm close. I'm gonna keep my eyes on my shit. I'm gonna farm with I'm gonna farm with traps to make sure that even if you do come node knock, it's gonna cost you.
Yeah, it's so funny. I remember doing that on like multiple accounts. I just had them all send out full gathers, and I'll just see like a node knocker run in, and he'll tap every node, like going from like 20 nodes, just tapping them all. He's
Oh,
like,
dude, oh,
what do
dude,
I do?
oh.
And he's like, maybe this one's gonna be no.
No.
But
And then you wait until he's right in the middle and then swarm him with all 5 marches. All at
yeah,
once.
unless you're a whale, like, and you just got like a 7 million euro, and nobody's gonna like, even if they swarm you out, you're not gonna be trading that well. I wouldn't be doing all that, like, because of all these freaking speed demons now. I will
Yeah.
say, I don't know if you know this, but like, you get like less. It's actually similar to like a base, but like if you get into a node and you let them actually wipe you out there, like if you don't think you can run, I've seen so many people who just run for their life and just get eaten alive, right? Like they just won't turn around fight. I mean, like if you know you can't outrun them, at least fight. But
You get better trades. Yeah,
I
might
don't
as
know if you
well.
know this. You get in a node, you're gonna get far less like wounded on both ends. I don't know if you know that, but like the losses on both sides is like much less. So like if
Really?
you're gonna die, just jump in a node and let them swarm you out. You get like way less wounded. I mean, you also deal less damage, but it's like a base. It's literally like a base.
Here's a question I've actually never known. That's an interesting
And most
point.
people don't know that. I kind of
I didn't
picked it
notice
up.
that either. That's really interesting.
And I don't know if you actually know this as well. When you get swarmed out of a node, you get resources like you do when you get like your base attacked. You know that?
So
And your system mail.
if I hit somebody who's on a node, I get resources back from what they
No, no,
farmed.
no, no. No. Like, if you attack it, you know how like if your base gets zeroed or something, you collect the system mail. You
Yeah.
sometimes get like some of your resources for like maybe retraining or healing.
Oh yeah,
You
where
get
it's
that
like,
in like
oh, we
little-
just noticed you lost a really
yeah,
big fight.
it's literally the same exact thing as a base basically, and you get
Really?
like way less loss. Yeah, it's pretty interesting. I picked it up eventually. I was like, what the heck? Why am I getting less wounded in a node? And yeah,
Note to self:
if
losing a
I'm about to
node.
die, yeah, if you're getting chased to death and you know you're about to die, just die in a node, bro.
Here's a question:
You'll save yourself a lot.
if you hop into a node as you're being attacked, does it change to a garrison on that
It
node?
should. It should. I mean, I know like I was fighting this one guy, EXXP. I mean, like I know in general, like being in a node gets you garrison, whatever. But I'm pretty sure it should change it. But like this one guy, EXXP, he's a monster. I remember fighting him one AR, and I would just like he kept sending like one march into a node near me because he just kept trying to get like the garrison trade-offs, like the garrison. Like I don't know, he was just being annoying about it. I was like, God damn it. We were cool with each other though, so like he actually had me coming to kill him, but I'm like, bro, you freaking keep abusing the garrison, bro.
Because
I
I'm
know,
thinking,
bro.
I'm thinking if that's the case, I'm gonna start farming with Thunder Riven, just for shits and giggles. You know what I mean?
I would just run like my Ragnar Riven, let them swarm me out.
That's right.
My little,
The only time I bring
little-
cars now is when I bring Sarah and Jeremy. Then I'm like, yeah, I'll send some cars. You can't catch up to me afterwards, anyways.
talking about nose, man. I never understand those people that like have a full freaking fit and like chat or something about getting node knocked. Like, bro, you're in a war map. You think I'm gonna let you farm resources so you can heal, so you can keep fighting
For
me? Like
free?
what? Like literally, bro. At
That's
least at least pay me, and then I'll look the other way when I'm killing all your friends. But like, come on now. Like, send me a
Oh.
little bit of gold for your goal. You know what I mean?
I did notice something. I'm not sure if you recognized.
What's
It's
up?
something that I just learned in AR. If you, okay, let's say you're, the base warehouses.
Yeah.
If you node knock someone who's on the base warehouse, it will replenish the resources that you killed them in that node.
I feel like I've seen that before, but if they leave and they die, it's like
Yeah, so if they
I don't know.
leave, right? If they leave that node, they take the cement with them. Even if they go back into that node, if they're carrying cement on them and you kill them, it will go back into that resource node, into that
that's
base
interesting. I
warehouse.
didn't know that second burst. Jumping back in. Yeah, I didn't know that. I didn't know that second half at
But
all.
but I thought that was really cool. So it's like all of a sudden, if you die in the node, number one, it sucks because it means that all the time that you spent harvesting that node goes to shit. You
Back
don't
to
get
2
any more.
hours. Well, I guess back to an hour.
45 minutes or whatever it is.
Yeah.
But it really is kind of funny to me because I used to think like it just disappeared or it just went away. No, it goes back right back in the fucking node. I went, okay, interesting. It's not nearly like I thought it would go away, but this means that, it just goes back to the node. I thought that was kind of interesting.
That's a pretty cool fact.
Yeah. For those who didn't know. For those who didn't know. Anyways, we are going to wrap up our first episode because we have been chatting now for long enough.
Probably like 2 hours, maybe. I
don't know.
It's
it's been over 2.5 hours. Well, 2 hours 20 minutes, something like that.
Jeez.
But truth be told, it doesn't feel like that, and I think that's the best part about these conversations.
They just fly by.
Yeah, and I think that's kind of what our goal is going to be moving forward. Is there anything else you want to end off with, Panda, before we wrap up?
Nothing really. I mean, it was good talking, I guess. I mean, we had some fun in here. And
it went everywhere.
Keep my brain just going. So yeah,
we
talked about a little bit of everything, bro. We were talking about cars,
politics,
engines and cars. I mean,
politics, Tesla. It was kind of everywhere.
Tesla, SpaceX. I don't even know how we got there, to be honest. That was a great way to start off.
No, I don't know how it went, but the funny part was it all of it segues back to Doomsday. You know what I mean? Like it all makes relevant connections back to Doomsday.
You somehow bounce back into it, so I don't know.
Yeah.
Worked out.
Well, that being said, folks, I do want to say thanks very much for tuning in. We will be bringing this podcast to you every 2 weeks so you can prep your beautiful ears for that conversation.
Yes, sir.
And feel free to hit the comment section down below with any questions or comments or concerns you have about the game or things you'd like to know. Panda and myself will be absolutely gifted with going through some of those requests and diving a little bit deeper into this game that we love so much. So don't forget, like the channel, subscribe to the channel, head over to Panda's as well, subscribe to his if you haven't. All the information will be in the details. I was going to say something else and I totally forgot. My brain shut off.
I think you might be like, and that's it to the video.
Love, peace, chicken grease, and until next time, stay lifted.